hello. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everybody. All right. Good morning. Please like the stream, guys. Please share it. Maybe not. Well, this one's kind of sad, but please share the content. I would appreciate it so much. I, of course, was demonetized yesterday. Anytime I cover serious topics, I will be demonetized. And as much as I would love for this to be completely fan funded, the reality is like a lot of people are facing an economic crisis. I can't expect people to fan fund everything, though I do appreciate the fact that I am about 40% fan funded, maybe 35%. It's a big deal. And so I appreciate my patrons and my members. I really do. But if you guys do not have, in the budget, the support for this content, sharing and liking really does wonders. I'll probably be demonetized again, maybe even taken down. The videos do get majorly in trouble when we cover these things, which is very frustrating. By the way, I'm going to pause Elvin's beautiful music in 1, 2, 3. I do get increasingly frustrated that we're trying to have these conversations and we can't because we get demonetized or news organizations take down our videos. And I understand, but just so you understand why some of us end up just going back to talking about like celebrities or pop culture, it's because at least we can still make content and get paid. It's funny, I was watching other leftist content creators talk about like being completely fan funded and not relying on ads. But there's this like really weird, awkward ethical place where it's like, if I don't rely on ads and I rely on my audience is already facing this economy. And then it's like, well, instead of putting that on my fans, I'll put it on the AdSense. But then the viewers don't like all the ads. But then if we don't have ads, and then it's like, So please it makes a difference. Please interact with the stream, it makes a difference. And thank you guys for the hair compliments. Speaking of supporting independent artists, earrings inspired by Mia. Of course, I follow her on Instagram, as you guys know. And actually, this bracelet is also handmade, though the artist is not like a public artist. They were a friend I had years ago. Got this cute. Okay. With that said, I have a bunch of videos I want to show you guys. I want to cover a few topics. Again, I'm not like the greatest source for in-depth political news because I'm not a political streamer, but I am a philosophical one. So since we do philosophy, I want to start us off with a reminder that we do philosophy through pop culture. And the reason I make the content I do versus the content that I used to do when I was more politically involved. And when I say like I'm not politically involved, it doesn't mean I don't vote or that I haven't protested or don't engage in protest, or it means that I don't believe working within the construct that is politics is truly about what's good for humanity. I truly believe politics is about winning. And there are just compromises that I would have to make to be in politics that I'm just not willing to make. And one of the greatest things that I get to do as a philosophy YouTuber is like not make those compromises, especially as I move into my elderly wisdom maybe one day, Tired Mom, thank you for being a member for 12 months. Says hello to all, hoping everyone is taking care. Same. I hope everyone is taking care of themselves. I want to start off with Tao Te Ching. I've got 2 passages here. I'm going to read one I read again. I read it yesterday. I'm going to read it again. But before that one, I'm going to read number 72, Room to Breathe. And I just want to start us off with sort of this as our foundation of understanding. And I think this is what philosophy does so well that politics can't. Philosophy allows you to zoom out and zoom back in, because politics only exists in the zoomed in. It doesn't exist in the zoomed out, right? Like the universe doesn't care about your politics. I mean, the universe has no understanding of it. You're just a little vegetable in a soup. And so what politics is like, it's a really zoomed in perspective. And we're going to incorporate this into sort of the levels talk too about popping bubbles, because the Discord asked me to talk about it. So let's talk about Tao Te Ching, number 72, Room to Breathe, right? It says, when the people are too foolish to recognize danger, disaster will surely come. Do not confine the people in tight quarters, or they will chafe against your rule. Give them room to breathe so they will not become restless. Excuse me, my voice, so I haven't talked today yet. So they will not become restless. The wise, while valuing themselves, do not overestimate themselves. They reject flattery and gain true merit. The wise, which hardly I would not count myself as a wise person, says, while valuing others or valuing themselves, do not overestimate themselves. I think this is the opposite of what we see with Trump and all of the world leaders. We see an ego, like a really dangerous patriarchal ego that sets into motion such violence that the world is literally it's at the expense of the world. So we'll talk about the doomsday clock today too. So the wise, while valuing themselves, do not overestimate themselves. They reject flattery and gain true merit. Okay. So I want to have that in mind as we move into the doomsday conversation, because I do think it's really interesting. Discord says Auntie Brittany looks sleepy. Auntie Brittany is sleepy. She also hasn't talked at all today, so her voice is still asleep. Testing, testing, testing my voice. Yeah, it's really sleepy right now. Okay. It is what it is. So let's stop there. I'll read the second passage in a second. Guys, please like this stream. It got demonetized yesterday. I'm not going to lie. AdSense has been dirty to me this month. And so I'm just sitting here like stressed a little bit, but that's okay. I'll come back tomorrow. We'll cover some estranged parents, you know, celebrity stuff. That way I can make some money. But for today and yesterday, you know, we're just showing up to do the Lord's work, you know, it is what it is. Okay. So doomsday clock, check this out. Do you guys understand that there's a group of people like actual adults in the world, academics, who are keeping track of like probability of the world ending? It's like very interesting. And I do think it's even more interesting if you believe we're evolved animals on a planet, because I do think that we are. And I do think that that interaction with what it means to be like that understanding with what it means to be a human is so interesting. Like the earth will be here even if humans are eradicated, right? Like we are not the center of the universe, even though some humans think they are, but we are not the center of the universe. So you have to remember that, right? Okay, check this out.
Joining us to discuss this is Peter Newman. He's a professor at Curtin University Sustainability Policy Institute and a member of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. He's speaking to us from Perth in Australia. Thanks so much for joining us. The doomsday clock, I mean, the name itself is really ominous. How concerned should we be? How concerned are you as a scientist?
Well, it is very concerning, because when the world gets desperate and stops cooperating and gets into conflict, the desperation can spread and things like nuclear become an option. And it can never be an option. It is impossible to see a future if we consider any use of nuclear weapons. It is also very hard to imagine a world unless we get rid of fossil fuels and start living on renewables, because the world is getting hotter and hotter and it is becoming a desperation thing. So we have to continue to cooperate and not seek conflict, because there is no hope if we have conflict.
So do you believe this can still be reversed? Many of the scientists involved in the so-called doomsday clock say there are still steps that we can take. What do you believe can be taken just in the next year, at least, so that when it comes to this?
The text at the bottom of the screen is saying actions by nuclear powers such as Russia, China, and the U.S. is among risks, because, you know, with the escalation, it's always the threat of the button, right? It's always the threat of, I will destroy everyone in your path. I will destroy everybody. We're going to talk a lot about that today with Gaza and Palestine. And we're going to talk about the entitlement that these people in charge have in destroying lives. You know, I deeply understand why people desert their military, why people leave, because it feels very strange to fight a war for a group of people that don't care that you're dying, you know? It's quite sad. It's quite sad. And so I can understand why, you know, young men especially are looking at them like, hello, am I supposed to be excited to fight this war for you? Seems very silly, right? Chess says, over the last years, your stream has always kept me company while writing my PhD thesis. Last week, I defended it, and I feel like you low-key co-wrote it with me. Thank you so much, Girly. Thank yourself, Girly. Thank yourself. I appreciate that, though. That's nice. Cool.
Time next year, it's not closer to the finality.
Yes, the disarmament projects that were conducted in the last 20, 30 years have worked. And in climate change terms, we have a very good model with the Paris Agreement, where 197 nations agreed to start this journey of decarbonising our economies. And it's working. There are some who've withdrawn, but it is mostly getting on.
Remember when the U.S. Removed themselves from the Paris Accord? Like, but things are working. I think that's what's so obnoxious about America is that it says it's the leader. It says it's, going to move us into the future. It's not, girl. It's not. It's pretty, it's so amazing how people fall. Okay, imagine you're America. You're dating America. And you want to believe the potential of them changing all of the sudden, but like the statistical probability is pretty low, right? And so that's what's so difficult is, you can date this guy and live for potential, or you can just accept like he is who he is. And look, if he changes, great. But we already know how this is going to end. Everyone always talks about the end of an empire, how many times it stays around, and at the end of the day, the world shifts and the world goes in different places. Like I am in such a weird place myself. Like, my parents immigrate from one place to come to America. They immigrate from Iraq to come to America, this dream. Their kids, are sitting here like questioning, should they move out of America? Literally, I don't know how many times I've had this conversation with my siblings. Like, should we move? Should we leave America? And I'm sitting here like, it is very hard to leave the place you were born. I think for some people it's easier than others. But I'll just say as a person living in Croatia right now, amongst Roman ruins, I will just say that it is very hard to learn a language, learn new customs, feel a part of a country, leave your former country. All of these things are much harder than people think they are. It's not a vacation. It does not feel like a vacation to have to live away from the people the smells the streets We were watching a movie, my siblings and I were having movie night the other night. And the guy is driving through an American town with like a normal shopping center with like a Sally's and whatever. And I was just like, I miss America. I miss like, I'm not even going to pretend like, that there isn't a part of me that misses the things that I grew up with. The same way that a lot of Palestinians want to go back home. And people are like, why would you want to go back to Gaza? Because that's their house. That's their home. What do you mean? That's what they recognize. That's what feels familiar to them. We really just, with so much callous, just say like, move. With so much, just bitterness in our voice, like think that, that we don't understand how hard it is for people just to like leave places. And it's so much, this whole idea of like, if you don't like it, move. It's just like, it's so obnoxious. And then if you do move, it's like, oh, you're so privileged. You move. You don't have to deal with it now. It's like, which one is it? Should we move out or should we stay? And so like, as tensions rise, we must stay grounded, right? Okay.
On with it. We do know how to cooperate. We have enough examples, so we should retain hope. But we need constant reminders that we cannot seek the desperate solutions like nuclear.
So when it comes to that cooperation that you speak about, there's cooperation on climate change, but what about technology? There's this rapid rise in AI, and most of the world, if not all of it, really hasn't put the methods in place or even the legal terms in place to be able to prevent AI from taking on its worst form.
Yes, there are issues, and AI is emerging as one that is both a hopeful solution because it is very clever and can help us do clever things with solar and batteries and electric vehicles and how they integrate and what's the best way to run the economy in a decarbonised way. It can be useful, but it is also a very bad master. So we need to take every technology and learn to make it a servant, not the master. So we do have those issues, and those issues are only resolved when we get together and work out how best to manage them in different ways in different parts of the world. And we do have ways of doing that. And at present, the politics of the world is getting very complicated, but there is still hope when you see how different organisations are forming to take on these issues, and we are able to adjust and bring on this more hopeful set of solutions. It is something that we constantly have to remind ourselves. Human beings cooperate well. We don't have to be in conflict. We don't have to try throwing migrants out of every country. We can deal with these issues and thrive on them. We don't need to give up and despair.
Professor Peter Newman, thank you very much for.
Okay, and he is at allegedly one of the best universities in Australia. And there are people working on these things. So, okay, now let's reread what I read yesterday to you guys, just so you should hear it more than once, right? Courage and caution. 73, Tao Te Ching. Reckless courage leads to death. Cautious courage leads to life. These two things, courage and caution, must be balanced. The right thing at one time is the wrong thing at another. This is why the wise approach everything with both courage and caution. The Tao does not fight, yet it conquers. It makes no demands, yet it receives. It issues no summons, but things come to it naturally. The Tao's reach is vast indeed. It casts a wide net and loses nothing. This is why the wise approach everything with both courage and caution. The right thing at one time is the wrong thing at another. Those are the key points for me. This is why when people say, people will often accuse me of being black and white in my thinking. But I actually think one of the things that I'm very good at is being very focused on mitigating harm, which certain subjects are, right or wrong. There's no gray nuance for us to have around the goal, like no child marriages, right? We're not aiming to say that at some point in history it was right to marry children. It was always wrong to marry children. We understand that it happened. We understand a lot of our families did it. We understand that a lot of us came from a legacy of child marriages. We understand that had that never happened, we wouldn't exist. We understand a lot of things, but it was always wrong. When they say here the right thing at one time is the wrong thing at another, I do think there's a place for that to be had. I think that's how I look at life, because I don't believe in objective morality. It's more or less an understanding that what should we do in this circumstance? What is the right thing in this context? Which is why I'm very big on categorization, because we should require of ourselves, if we believe we are sort of being very serious about our ability to process and problem solve and think, an ability to see the context and the nuance, not just use these words because they sound good in videos. My Discord was having a discussion about bubbles and bubbles perception and sort of like going back and forth about like what is a bubble pop, what are these things, and like where are mental health professionals kind of like where are the mental health professionals talking about that like realization of a crisis of existential dread / a bubble pop. So and if Discord wants to clarify anything, let me know. But basically, just to bring it back to the work that I am doing, is that I created the levels framework because I was experiencing a relationship with myself and everything outside of myself. I put two words, I'm putting into, it's a work in progress. I am creating work that seems to be an experience many people have. And I want the work to be grounded. I want it to be data driven. I want it to be real. I want it to be tangible. And I want it to be something that helps us deeply understand ourselves better. I do think there will be a lot of misunderstandings. And I think a lot of people will misunderstand it. A lot of people over the years have misunderstood it. Even people in the past that I thought like, oh my God, you get it, right? Now I look back and I'm like, did they get it? Because like their actions don't follow, right? Do you get it? Like, do you get it? Like, it's hard to say when people really get something unless you're having like long form, deep conversations with them over a period of time, because we are flawed creatures. And so we tend to speak with our biases and prejudice, and that's really difficult. So a bubble, right? I started using bubbles in my work because people would say, oh my God, you're in a bubble. You're stuck in a bubble. I would watch TV shows and reality TV and they'd be like, oh, she's so in that bubble. She's in that MAGA bubble. She's in that conservative bubble. We're all in bubbles. People usually say it to say that I'm better than you. Like you're in a bubble and I'm not. We're all in bubbles. Bubbles are perception. They're the perception we have and the sort of reality we build are present on. So when you have a bubble pop, it can be little or small or big or large. It can be life-changing, but what it does is it shifts perspective. Okay, so it can be a small perspective change or a big one. When you pop a bubble, you're not necessarily physically leaving the bubble, but you might be having a perception difference in relation to the information at hand. So a bubble can be a physical place, right? Like the YouTube bubble. It can also be the different bubbles online. It can be the way you process information. Like, oh, I'm in the bubble where I am experimenting with plant-based through a philosophical lens because I believe the consciousness of an animal might be just as valuable and valid and a need to be protected as much as like human life. Let's talk about it. But I'm like working, through that. So I'm not quite sure. So I'm not quite in the vegan bubble, but I'm in the plant-based bubble for now. I'm trying to figure it out. You can also say like, oh yeah, I'm queer. I'm in the queer bubble versus I'm just gay. I'm not in the queer bubble. But you can, so it's meant to express something internal to the external, but it also can just be like your physical bubble. So like my personal life is in my own little physical bubble, and this is my home, and that's a bubble. But you know, when you change a perspective, like when I went from being non-plant-based to plant-based, I had a bubble pop, and I talked to this vegan named Elle, and she came on my stream. And as I was going through my 30-day vegan challenge, I didn't quite understand what vegans were talking about. And then Elle explained it to me in a way that went boop, and I went, oh shit, I get it. Oh, I get it, but I haven't embodied it yet. Okay, let me do plant-based, because I think the vegans might be right, but I'm not sure yet how to process that in an embodied way yet. Let me go on this journey. Okay, so when we have this conversation and people say like, oh, I popped a bubble, it can be one like I popped a bubble, realized God wasn't real, and I restarted my life over. It can be like, oh, I popped a bubble and I realized like, oh, my understanding of this political situation wasn't what I thought, so let me change, but it's embodied, right? So there is going to be like a little bit, you know, again, the small and then the big perception changes, but they are perceptions and they can be shared or individually processed. Does that kind of make sense? So when I think of therapy, I think of the mental health, like how your brain operates, your lineage, why you do what you do. And then I think that's why you have to have philosophical work with therapy work, because philosophy allows you to ground yourself in ethics and morals and explains more the greater relationship with existence. And then therapy is more like your internal, it's very personal, it's very micro. You know, just as for me, a bubble popping feels like a shift from knowing to understanding. Sure, like there's definitely that where a bubble like it can feel like you can have a bubble pop intellectually understanding and a bubble pop knowing. You can have a bubble pop like you can have an understanding of something without it being embodied, which is why you have to incorporate like the thing like I do know, like when people say like, oh yeah, I know racism is bad. But are you really embodying that? Do you really understand that racism is bad? Or do you just intellectually understand racism is bad? Right? Because it has to be embodied. Do you really understand misogyny is bad? Do you really understand homophobia is bad? Or do you just like intellectually understand it's bad? Do you really understand what ICE is doing is bad? Or do you just like, yeah, they shouldn't do that. That's not good. Or do you like, and this is a change because you might be a person who's like, ICE is never bad. Okay, that's a bubble perspective. Then you go, oh man, what ICE is doing is kind of bad. Okay, bubble shift, bubble pop. Now you might have a bubble pop where it's like, oh my God, what ICE is doing is like actually very bad. Like very bad. And now my whole life has to change. That's why I say, like when we have these conversations with MAGA people or these debates with these people and we're like, oh, we're trying to change minds or change the minds of their audience, the people listening have to have the shift themselves. It's personal. A bubble pop is personal. It's not me. It's not the content creator watching. It's you, your brain processing a perspective change. You are literally changing in front of us. But I can't make you change. You can't change people. People change themselves. So you have to incorporate that into a deep understanding of like really like, you know, and again, like a bubble pop can be really, really small or really, really big. And then there's like a spectrum of understanding. But I feel like I have bubble pops all the time where I'm like, oh, bubble pop. Okay, hold on. Recalibrating. Okay, got it. And then I'll sometimes have these like really, whoa, like life-changing, more than just a slight perception change, a life-changing. So it's much more distinct. Like me going plant-based, you don't understand. The girl who used to make her own beef jerky, like the girl who has helped slaughter animals, like you do not understand how significant it is that I have been a year plant-based. Like I was at the store yesterday and they had all these new vegan products and I was like so excited. I was like, oh, thank God. And like, I was so excited. And then I like picked them all up because I was like, okay. So it is a big deal. It might not even look like a big deal, but it's like a big deal. And it's like, oh shit, like I don't know if I'll ever go back, right? And that's the thing, like, will I ever eat animals again? I don't know what future Brittany will do, but it's really hard for me to process eating animals at this point, but I'm only a year in, girl, who knows, right? Like, I don't want to be one of those, that's why I don't call myself vegan, because I know I don't have that embodied experience yet, and it would feel like a lie. But I am plant-based for a very principled reason right now. So that's my focus. You know, does that make sense? Chet says, let's see. Collective bubbles and personal bubbles. Exactly. Aha versus bubble pop. I'm following and I agree on philosophy plus therapy. Yeah. Yeah. So you want, I like that, collective versus personal bubble pops. Very important, which is why you still have to work on your introspection. So introspection bubble pops, extrospection bubble pops. I realize this about myself. I realize this about the world. Two different kinds of bubble pops, which was why ultimate joy is being in symbiosis with those two things. 2 joy, 5 joy is still the same joy. And the premise of the joy, if you have philosophical joy, you are in sync, in symbiosis, in harmony with your introspection and your extrospection. And these two things are working in conjunction. That is what I call philosophical joy. And it maintains and it stabilizes as long as you maintain and introspect, because it is an active participation in the most present. And no matter how much the world is melting around us, because it will always melt from day 1 to day 0 to day 100 to day 1,000, whatever, okay? It will always be this way. Then you must focus on that harmony. And that's why I think a lot of meditation is important, or a lot of like grounding yourself, reading your passages or doing whatever you need to do to keep those things in sync. Because if those things go out of whack, that's when we start to spiral. Existential dread. What is the meaning of it all? What does it even mean? Focus. And also understand that there will be times in which you will feel powerless, because you certainly are in many ways. So that's not the problem. The problem isn't that you feel powerless. The problem is what you do when you are. Because remember, and this goes back to the passage I just read you in Tao Te Ching. When pushed into a corner, okay, like when the people are too foolish to recognize danger, disaster will surely come. Do not confine the people in tight quarters, or they will chafe against your rule. Like don't make people feel, okay, because they will. In the same way you will. When you feel pushed, okay, when I was in my 20s and I felt pushed into a corner, anytime I felt out of control in my life, do you know what I did? I self-harmed, or I went and spent money on a credit card I couldn't afford to make me feel in control of my life. I hurt myself in order to feel control when I felt like I had none. When I was at my most powerlessness, when I felt like I was drowning under the weight of the world, I went and hurt myself. Now, some people hurt others. Very scary. I am a self-harmer. Okay? I am a self-harmer to the T. Some people do hurt others. That's not the greatest case scenario. That's why we have to work on that. But if you're a self-harmer like I am, okay, you owe it to yourself to also see yourself the way you would see others, right? You don't want to be the person who hurts others when you're hurt, right? Well, you certainly don't want to hurt yourself then, because you are them and they are you, right? Okay, let's see. I think I saw a question here. Do you feel there are some things you might be more open to bubble popping on, like more closed off to some but others? Like, probably stupid question. How do you know which ones to consider? First, good question. It's a good question. I am only, okay, this is personal. Okay, I'm sharing a personal thing with you. Brittany, thing you call Brittany, I want to know what's true about life. I want to know what it means to be a human in the most like dignified, layered way. Like, I am interested in what helps people. I'm interested in problem solving. I'm interested in harm reduction. I am not afraid of anything that is true. So when I was at 2, truths about the universe, about life, would shatter my sense of understanding. It would feel like the rug was being pulled out underneath me. When I got to 5, now it's a radical acceptance that anything is true shall not rock my foundation, because the truth should never make you feel less than. The truth should empower you by it being honest, right? Like, the truth will set you free. I think that's true. But I think we're so afraid of the truth because it will rock our sense of being. So that's why conservatives, you'll see MAGA people, they really struggle to face themselves, because they're at the stage of healing or non-healing, where if they face themselves, it will shatter their foundation of understanding and they'll have to start again from scratch. I'm past that. I'm way past that now. I'm 36. I'm way past it on my journey. Okay, so I'm not that 22-year-old girl anymore. I'm not 28. I'm not even 29. I'm 36, and 36-year-old Brittany no longer will be shattered by truth. She will only get better because of it. But not everyone is there yet. But anyone can be there, whether you're a 2 or a 5. You can be a 2 that radically accepts whatever is true, but you also maybe, you'll feel it maybe a little differently than a 5. But it's the same premise. The same thing is there, that either the truth is going to set you free or it's going to make you feel like you don't know any better. And yet, this is not what I want you to fall into, which is this faux stoicism, which is like, oh, yes, there is a genocide happening. What are you going to do? No. There is a genocide happening. There's always a genocide happening. We should be outraged. We should be justifiably angry. It is disgusting. It is unnecessary. It is gross. So you also can't be in my comment sections being like, oh my God, Brittany, did you not know this? You're acting like you didn't even know this. No, you're acting like you're better than other people because you're not reacting. Express injustice, express anger, express frustration. We are so numb because we think, oh, if we react like this is the first time hearing this, like it's not my first time hearing this. It is necessary, though, that we express ourselves, because we do this thing where like I'll express myself on stream sometimes and people will say, oh, I already knew about this. I already knew about this too, girl. I'm not expressing ignorance. I'm expressing outrage in the same way I should have the first time I heard about it. It should not be something we grow numb to or get used to, but we do, don't we? And a big part of that is because human beings keep going. Human beings do grow comfortable in chaos. And that's why humans as a species keep procreating, right? Chad says, let's see, like there's a difference, or one of the differences between the levels is new information, not shattering your sense of self or your understanding. Yeah, like maybe, I think for 2s, it will feel shattering but it won't necessarily feel as like, here, as an example, you can be a 2 on a bubble journey. And let's say you start off on this bubble and then you hop into this bubble and you hop into this bubble. And keep in mind, every bubble's information is coming along with you. You should be bringing the information with you to each new bubble. Okay. Let's say along the journey, as you're bringing everything with you, okay, you stop here for a really long time as a 2 and you think, okay, I got it. This is it. And remember, 2s, their whole universe is in relation to like planet Earth, versus 5s, their relationship is to like the universe, the whole universe. Planet Earth is not the center of existence. Humanity is not the center of existence. To 2s, they mostly are. 2s typically believe that human beings and or the Earth are the center of their universe. Okay. And they often hold on to beliefs they feel like are true, even if they don't have the evidence, because they feel like it's enough data. I know the difference between what I believe and what I know. These are different. Okay. So let's say when the 2 was here, they were pretty chill, and then they got to here, and this was like a shattering experience. Okay. They were like, holy fucking shit. Oh my God. And then they got here. They're like, holy fucking shit. Oh my God. And then they got here. They're like, okay, fuck, I found it. Jesus, that was hard. It's like, oh my God, I thought this was real. I thought this was real. I thought this was real. And now we're here. Okay. Whew. And they don't even know over here is like the whole ass universe waiting to be discovered and experienced / understood. But that doesn't mean they have to get there. Sometimes you can just stop there as a 2 and build, because the planet still needs you, right? Like, remember, the levels are for you personally. They're not for the people. They're for you, your relationship with the world. Because even if you're a 5, you still can volunteer and show up and be a teacher and do things. It's just you understand you're playing a role in the larger universe. 2s think they're playing a role in their community. So 2s go, I should be a teacher because my community needs it. 5s might say, I should be a teacher because that's what my calling is in the universe, to help the community in this way. Those are 2 different viewpoints of the perspective. Okay. So one takes this into consideration and one takes this into consideration. Both are important. The why changes, because remember, philosophy is about the why. So the why can change, but the result could be the same too. Like, that we have good teachers in the school system, right? So it's not about 2s should be 5s. I don't make that prescription. I think that's a bad prescription. I think that is the worst way to think of the levels, is to think I should be a 5. That's like a deep misunderstanding of the levels, is to think everyone should be a 5. It's about finding your calling in the universe. It's about knowing your place in the universe and understanding your joy. So your relationship with everything inside of yourself, your relationship with everything outside of yourself, whether it's in relation to the planet Earth or in relation to the universe as a whole. So I was never joyful when I was a 2 because it never was a satisfying why for me. I didn't get it. I was like, okay, I don't get it. Like I was protesting. I was cleaning up streets. I was, participating in my community. I was working. I was paying rent. I was doing all these things. And I was like, this can't be all, right? Like for Brittany, it wasn't enough. I'm sorry. Like I know for some people it is, and I love that for you. I love seeing teachers who have taught at the same school for 30 years and their whole life is around this small little neighborhood. Beautiful. I fucking love that. I need to know why I'm doing what I'm doing, period, all the way to the universe. Like I just need to know what I'm doing because I think it's probably an autistic trait as well. I can't do anything without knowing why, which is so autistic, right? Like I need to know why I'm doing it. And not that I'm being confrontational. I just don't get it. Like, why am I doing this? So, in school, you ask a teacher, like, hey, why am I doing this? And they think you're fighting with them, but you're actually like, no, seriously, I need to know why I'm doing this first, And so I did, that's why I say, like, even though I was always in these bubbles and I was always this person, it was obvious to me and obvious to everybody around me. I was always gonna, because I'm just like, well, I'm one of those kids, right? I don't think I've ever had a teacher that didn't eventually have to have a conversation with my parents about like, Brittany's very argumentative with teachers. Even when I was homeschooled and other like teachers would teach me, they were like, Brittany has a problem with authority. And I'm like, listen, it's not a problem with authority, but you are really telling me this is the answer. So you better have some data because I really want to know. Okay. Here I am reading Les Mis at like 13 years old. And I'm like, I'm very critical of Les Mis. And I'm sitting here arguing with the teacher. And she's just like, can't you just enjoy it? And I was like, girl, you're telling me this is a great novel about like morals and ethics and about like systems and structures and police. And then I can't sit here and ask some questions. This huge unabridged book you're making me read. Come on now. Tessa's first time watching the stream. Welcome, welcome. The way you speak is so eloquent and well worded. Love hearing you talk about this. Love that. Hey, honestly, it's not even, I don't even know that it's me speaking about it, but it's you being interested in it, which is really the key here. It's not even that I make the content because this is my special interest. It's the fact that you find it interesting that I think is more interesting than the fact that I'm making the content. I am always fascinated by who watches me. I'm always fascinated by who loves philosophy because like philosophy is such a niche bubble on the internet, and unless it's stoicism boy philosophy, it just never does numbers. So it's always interesting to see who likes it, That says, I think this was a bubble pop for me a while ago, realizing that some people can be joyful as a 2 and that's okay, rather than telling people they should be a 5. Yeah, 100%. Because like, if the goal of the levels, the reason I keep working on them is because there's obviously a meaning crisis and people don't know who they are. Like, how many bad dates do you have to go on before you realize people don't know who they are, right? But a big part of knowing who you are is also accepting who people are. So a big part of 5 that's really key is accepting that people will be people. You have to accept the world as it is in order to change it. You can't change the world unless you accept it first. Acceptance is not the same as doing nothing. I think people hear forgiveness and acceptance as like, I guess there's nothing to be done. I hear forgiveness and acceptance as taking off the burden of the weight that's carrying you and slowing you down so you can keep moving forward. Okay? And goes back to that little Buddhist TikTok I saw the other day of him explaining in Buddhism, like forgiveness is like you're holding on to a hot coal and forgiveness is letting go of the hot coal. Because you holding on to this bitterness, it's more pain to you than the person you won't forgive. But forgiving that person isn't about absolving the person of their sin. It's about you letting go of the burning coal. And that's how I live my life. It's to say, okay, I've been holding on this anger. I've been holding on to this bitterness. I've been holding on to this, like, girl, what I could hold a grudge better than anybody. Okay, before 30, I was a grudge holder. I had a little, like, I could hold a grudge. After 30 and I had my, I was like, oh, it's me. I'm the problem. Because I won't forgive and I won't move on and I won't do the right thing and I'm busy, because you have been hurt, you have been harmed, has been injustice, right? But I am holding on to this bitterness and anger, and it shows. It shows in the way when I talk to people, it shows in the way that people approach me. And And so it's not good, right? It's not good. Okay. Don't use the R word in my chat, guys. Don't oops. Hold on. I reflexively blocked you because that's what I usually do. Hold on. I unblocked you. Okay. But I'm going to delete this message in case you're new to my channel. Don't use the R word in my chat. Don't use slurs in my chat, guys. Okay. Did it disappear? Is it still there for some reason or no? No, it disappeared. Okay. So again, we want to move the world in a better direction by being less bad ourselves, because the world is a reflection of us as a whole. So all of us are complicit in the harm that exists. Like, I'm a very different person than I was at 22. And whatever I'm doing now, in 10 years, I'll be like, oh man, here's the harm she caused, right? And that's what it is. I want you to understand, I am not the end goal. There is no end goal. There is only living a fulfilling life. There is no, once I get this much money or this much house or this much body or this much whatever, that everything will, no. Life itself is an experience, and we will experience it until we don't anymore. Assuming that's what even happens, right? Okay. So I hope that answered everybody's questions. Let's go to one of my philosophy girlies here, Britt Hartley. I've done a collab. Britt and I did a collab a few months ago now. I don't remember, but this is Britt Hartley, No Nonsense Spirituality, and she's progressive. She does philosophy. She has her master's degree. And Discord wanted me to watch this video with you guys. I've seen it, but I thought it would be good to watch it with you as well, about anger.
Your spirituality does not include anger, then
Let's get the volume up a little bit. It seems a little low.
if your spirituality does not include anger, then it's just spiritual bypassing. This week, to help me with moral courage and continuing to show up, I've put this painting on my desk. This is one of my favorite paintings called The 3rd of May by Francisco de Goya that was painted in 1814. And this depicts the real-life execution of Spanish civilians under the rule of Napoleon. And it's a painting showing civilians facing unaccountable military force. So if you're asking me what my spiritual practice looks like lately, as you can see, I've had an increase in anxiety because I picked my lip off last night. I'm trying to stay away from all of the spiritual bypassing in forms of spirituality and religion that really try to desensitize my feelings, because I don't want that. But I'm also trying to avoid just actually like burnout and shutdown that we can see on the nihilistic side. Because I'm seeing Buddhist bypassing happening, where it's like, if I'm sufficiently enlightened, then nothing really bothers me and attachment is the problem and just let go. I see it in Christianity, where it's like God is in control and there's going to be ultimate justice, so don't worry too much. I'm seeing New Age manifestation kind of spiritual bypassing, where it's all about continuing to raise your vibration or using spirituality to keep drama out of your life. I'm seeing some forms of liberal spirituality or even humanism just say that, hey, both sides are in need of compassion and anger just creates more violence, so we should just all be nice. And then on the nihilism side of things, I'm seeing a lot of hopelessness. I'm seeing a lot of nothing matters anyway, so why even try? Let's just kind of numb ourselves and get through this and just watch Netflix through this because nothing matters anyway. And I want to push back on any form of spirituality, wherever it comes from, that makes state violence easier to tolerate. So how that's all showing up for me right now is just the spiritual practice of becoming a piece of sand in the cog. Because I am a person for whom I've had chapters in my life where it was difficult just to stay alive. Just the ethics of being alive was already really difficult for me, much less being alive in, increasing state of fascism. So for me, I'm not alive and showing up because I think that life is always inherently good, or I consented to be here, or I have great hope that my actions are going to change the world, or I have great hope that the world is going to be different and this is going to be the last time that we experience, state violence. I don't believe any of that. I show up because I'm refusing, while I'm here, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to refuse to make injustice more comfortable. And that positive relationship with myself and my own life narrative, and being really laser focused on the story that I'm writing with my own life, allows me to continue to show up without burning out. Now is the time for the spirituality of anger and the spirituality of resistance. If your spirituality...
Okay, we want to be angry for the world, not at the world. We don't want to numb ourselves to what's happening, and we don't want to lose ourselves either. We have to maintain that balance. And I think that this message overall should be the message, right? We don't want to, and I never want to come across as somebody who's saying like violence is never the answer, even though that's the ultimate goal. The reality is what the reality is. So you have to, and this goes back to Tao Te Ching, okay? The right thing at one time is the wrong thing at another. Maybe at another time, it would be wrong to focus on justified anger and focus more on spending these last moments with your kid who's dying from cancer. Maybe at another time, the right thing to do is have a justified anger and run into the streets and protest and maybe even die, right? Your role in the story is the story of your life. And even if nobody ever reads it, right? Even if nobody ever reads it, you live with it. That's why it's often like you'll hear people say like, I don't know how you sleep at night. Because that's true. Like, I often think like, how do you sleep at night? Like, because I am haunted. I'm haunted by something I said awkwardly in a conversation 10 years ago. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, did I send that email? And then I'm like, oh, and then like, imagine, we're living in a world where Trump sleeps like, well at night, allegedly, right? So, but at the same time, maybe in one circumstance, like looping on what you said 10 years ago is not appropriate. Then maybe sometimes it's okay if it keeps you up at night, whatever. So, when we're sitting here and we're existing in our life, we really are a character in a story. And that's so significant. Again, it doesn't matter if anybody reads it or anybody ever knows it or it's ever posted, you know it. And that's why I say, like, who do you want to be in the story? So my 5 key points of being a whole human being, who are you in the story? And are you willing to know that the story will change? Like, who you are can change in the story. I've been very many people at the same time, at different times, right? I remember my partner and I were talking about all these men who cheat on their wives. We're like, all these cheating fucking losers. And then we were talking about Hamilton, and apparently Hamilton cheated on his wife. And I'm like, damn, just like all these people can't keep it in their pants. And also while they're cheating on their wives, they're like doing these like things. But then as they're doing this, they also had like hands in slavery. And then as they're doing this, and it's like, man, we really are multifaceted, huh? Talking about the liberation of man as we have enslaved people in our backyards. How fucking crazy is that? How is it not crazy that some of the founding fathers or people who helped establish America, well, they were talking about liberation for all, literally had enslaved people. They literally enslaved people, raped them, killed them, kept their body parts as souvenirs. So again, the right thing at one time is the wrong thing at another. And this is why the wise, which I certainly am not, approach everything with both courage and caution. Everything. As much as I can. Okay. Let me pull this up for us. The reason I also do philosophy and not politics is, one, I do think politics is about winning. Okay. I also think the thing about politics that is so hard is that you're playing like a social game, and I'm just too autistic to play that social game. I really am, like with peace and love. I could not. But recently in the news, in the last like 24 hours, Ilhan Omar was assaulted. Representative, she was assaulted. She was assaulted in public. A man threw a liquid substance on her. And as I watch this video and as we watch it together, I just keep thinking to myself, man, the things she has been through, whether we like the Democrats or not, because God knows we have enough heat for them. I am shocked at what these women have to go through. These minority women have to go through. And, the rumors they spread around about her, the things Trump says about her with her brother, the things people say about, just like, what a difficult job. What a difficult job. The intersectionality of it is so important that we can, as progressives, have criticism for the Democrats and also understand how frustrating this is to have been her, to continue to be her, and still she shows up every day. And I think that is commendable, even if we can hold two things at the same time. This is why I love philosophy. Philosophy allows me to hold the contradiction, right? Look at this video.
Of the agency.
She's doing a
ICE cannot
speech.
be reformed. It cannot be rehabilitated. We must abolish ICE for good.
Okay, we love the message, abolish ICE.
And DHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. He gets up. Look how fast it happened. Look how fast it happened. Okay?
Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment.
And then she goes to swing on him, which you can tell this girl's been taking self-defense classes because she was ready.
I don't know.
Oh my God, he sprayed something on her.
I need a napkin to know nothing. No, we will continue.
No. Ilhan, you need to go get checked. No,
We will continue. These fucking assholes are not going to get away
you
with
need
it.
to go get checked. No, you don't know what. No. That's whatever it is smells so bad. She needs to go get checked.
They said it smells so bad, she needs to get checked.
I don't know
That's
what that
that's
was.
what they want. Please don't let them know.
It's not about him, Ilhan.
So she's arguing with security because she wants to stay and continue her job, which we love to see a woman in her position stand by the people. And also we're concerned for her because who knows what it was. It could be deadly.
It's not about him. It's about your safety. No, he sprayed something on you. You need to go get checked. Yeah, and it smells terrible.
We're going to keep talking.
She doesn't feel like it's hurting her. She doesn't feel like she's being threatened. So in this moment, she wants to be strong for the people.
Just give me 10 minutes. Just give me 10 minutes. I beg you. Please don't let them have the show. Please don't let them have the show. Please don't let them have the show. Please don't let them have the show.
She said, please don't let them have the show.
Here is the reality that people like this ugly man don't understand. We are Minnesota strong, and we will stay resilient in the face of whatever they might throw at us. Everybody settle down. I'm going to finish my remarks. It is important for me to continue to lead my Democratic colleagues in demanding her resignation.
Okay, now she leaves. Let me pull it up for us. Hold on. I thought I had it up, but I don't. Let me see if I can find it really fast. Because she does follow up with remarks. Let me.
Representative Omar, are you okay?
You know, I'm gonna go figure if I am, but I feel okay. I feel that it is important for people, whether they are in elected office or not, to allow these people to intimidate us, to make us not fight for our constituents and for the country we love. And as I said, you know, I've survived war. And I'm definitely going to survive intimidation and whatever these people think they can throw at me, because I'm built that way.
Okay. Ooh. Chet said, why did that make me cry? It was, because it could have been a really horrible, but she could have died. I think it's like a relief almost, because we don't want her to die. You know what I mean? And we could have just seen the end. And I think that's what's so a part of it is you probably feel like I feel it in my chest where it's like, oof, I feel almost nauseous a little bit because you just never know the way that the world is, the way that this person felt entitled, the way that it went, like it could have been really horrible. And God knows what it still is. Like it just happened. So we're still getting news about it. But the point is that I think one, she did a strong thing. She stood up for her people. I want her to continue doing that as an elected official, of course. And we should keep pressuring the Democrats, even when we support and like them. Okay. And that's kind of the point as well. We like you, now do better. We like you, do more. Where we would never want to see you get hurt also, And I think that's a part of it too, because at the end of the day, these are our elected officials. But I also think it's important that we remember that we could have just seen something really horrible. This could have been at the end of her life, And the way the president has attacked her, slandered her, went after her, the way they are trying to paint her and people like her as less American, even though the whole point of America, right, is to come here and have a better life, which is so ironic, you know, it really just, in this moment, I think it was nice to see. I think that's probably why she did it too, because she knows how bad it is right now. Here she is talking about abolishing ICE. She knows how bad it is. And so I think in that moment, she realized she didn't feel too bad. And so and maybe a part of her feels like, well, if I'm going to go, I might as well go with some closing words of action. May my last words be this, then my last words be something else, you know? And I'm just glad that she's okay. And I'm glad she was able to get the final word in. I think that's really important. So this is politics. This is why I don't like it. Because it comes down to two sides feeling entitled, but one side being far more on the wrong side of history than the other. And then I'm supposed to show up in a room and have a conversation with that group. And that's what's so difficult is like, I don't like the way the Democrats play friendly with MAGA. I don't think there's a bridge to be built there. I think we can only move forward away from bigotry. But that is what the compromise of being a politician is. It is sitting in a room with somebody who throws up a Hitler sign or somebody who supports white nationalism and then trying to have a conversation that, quote, is in quotation civil. That is a very difficult job, and I certainly do not want to do it myself. So part of me, you know, wants to give her that credit of doing it. And then a part of me knows we still have to give them credit and hold them accountable. I'm just glad she's okay. I really am. You know, Discord said apparently her assailant told neighbors beforehand. I wonder why they didn't take it seriously. Oh, that is interesting, actually. Let's see if we can get an update. Let's see if I can find an update from like an hour ago or something, because maybe that's what we need. Let's see if I can find one that's much more recent. 14 hours ago, 14 hours ago, 13 hours ago, 2 hours ago, 13 hours ago. The 2 hours ago looks like the same thing. Really? Is there 3 hours ago? It looks like the same video. I want like, do we have no answers about this? Wow, this was 16 hours ago. Look at this.
We're going to bring back Christmas. We did. Now they're afraid to suggest it, but we brought that back. But law and order, we need law and order. And we have the lowest crime rate now in the history of our country. That's good, but we'll do even better.
This is 16 hours ago.
And as everyone is aware, we've totally and
So I think this was just before that happened to her.
completely closed the southern border with little fanfare, but tremendous success. Where the southern border is closed, nobody's coming in.
But he says, then this says it says Trump speech in Iowa mocks Minnesota, Ilhan Omar's calls Somalia not even a country. And then it says, hold on, I can't read it that good. It says, these statements have not been verified. Was this just before she got attacked?
That's right. Nobody is able to come into our country except for those that come in legally. We want to have people come in legally. We need people to come in legally, but they have to show that they can love our country, not hate our country. They have to show that they're not going to blow up our shopping centers, blow up our farms.
Oh my God.
Kill people. They're coming in legally, but they cannot come in unless they come in legally into our country, and we're letting some great people come in. They have to show that they can love our country. They have to be proud. Not like Ilhan Omar. Did you see that wise guy? You know, she's always talking about the Constitution provides me with the following. You know, the Constitution, she comes from a country that's a disaster. It's considered, I think, it's not even a country, okay? It barely has a government. I don't think it does. They go to one thing, pirates.
Oh,
but they don't do that anymore. You know why? Because they get the same treatment from us as the drug dealers get. Boom, boom, boom.
The drug dealers that are often just fishermen and you blow up their boats.
Boom.
So this was posted 16 hours ago, but then the story about Ilhan happened 10, 8, 14 hours ago. Oh, interesting. Ridiculous. And that's the point of it. Like talking bad about each other, you know, they say the founding fathers used to put out articles about each other, slandering one another, just like we do today. I don't want to do this. I don't want to win. I want humanity to move in the right direction. So again, for me, like, politics will never be the answer. I think politics is a cope, but I do understand that the world revolves. They really think the world revolves around politics. But I just want to remind people, like, politics is the reason people justify not giving you the right to vote, right? They'll say, it's the law, you can't vote. It's the law, you can't drink from the same water fountain. It's the law, you can't get medical care. So I'm not the biggest fan of the construct of politics. If politics is also used to weaponize, we should be talking about humanity. We should be talking about babies being born every day. We should be talking about them coming into the world neutral and with their own ability to paint the path for their future. We should not be deciding that baby's future based off of gender or the way that we shouldn't decide that baby's fate before it's even had a chance to decide it for themselves, And so I'm not the biggest fan. That's why when men will say, blacks and women, white men will say, the blacks and women should be grateful to us because we're the reason they have rights. Yeah, I think politics have allowed these men to feel emboldened enough to say those things. You've probably seen it. You've had to have seen the TikToks. I get that commentary. I block those people who come into my chat. Brittany, without men, you wouldn't even have a place. It's like, without men, you wouldn't even have rights. Without men, you wouldn't even have a vote. It's like, it's like, if that's the place you're coming from, then you will feel entitled to take away people's rights, And that's the problem. I've even heard centrists say, like, not even full on MAGA, but I've heard like liberal centrist people be like, well, without men helping to fight alongside, without men helping to, nothing but, yes, we need everyone to fight alongside, but you're not supposed to get a gold star for doing the right thing. That's the problem. You want a gold star for not being pro-slavery or a gold star for not being a misogynist? That's the point. We have to stop giving gold stars out for the basics and yet meet people where they are. It's kind of crazy. Who's this person in chat? Hold on. Why are you arguing in my chat right now? Y'all got to be careful saying crazy, untrue things because you need to see things as truthfully as possible to protect your community. You can't make shit up and stir fear. Are you talking about the fact that chat wasn't sure if this was like an assassination attempt or a chemical warfare attempt or something? You don't know that. We don't know what his intent was. It was assault at the very least, but it was a very big deal. Okay? This person in chat who's fighting with people, this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is us saying we don't know what's happening, but the fact that he felt emboldened to do it is a big deal. He wasn't a protester. It's not like he showed up with a sign. It's not like he did something in the name of, he could have been a mentally ill person who was bored that day. But whatever it was, he wasn't there in good faith and he wasn't there in a form of protest. He was there to fuck over, the whole situation. He was there to stoke fear himself. You know what I mean? So I don't know why you're worried, and maybe you have good intentions. Maybe you're like seriously scared to misrepresent something. We're not trying to misrepresent anything. We're trying to say, hey, you sprayed an unknown substance on a politician, and we're a marginalized politician who's already had death threats sent against her. This is so serious that unless you are an obvious protester, unless you obviously are trying to make some sort of crazy like statement, like throwing fake blood on people in the name of veganism, this wasn't that, So I don't know what you're talking about, but we have the right to sit here and be like, this is never okay. And I don't know what he was doing, but absolutely not. Chad said I was replying to someone saying that it was paid by Trump. Well, we don't know that. We don't know anything. Right? We don't know that. We don't know if it was paid by Trump, but right now Trump is paying people to kidnap people off the streets. So maybe he would pay someone to throw something on her. Right? Like Trump is paying people. He is ordering people to kidnap people off the streets. So I'm not going to put anything past him, but we don't know that that's literally what happened. So something to keep in mind. Okay, let's do this now. Stay with me here. And I don't blame you guys for wanting to put down your foot on conspiracy theories. I agree. Like, don't be a conspiracy theorist, okay? But also, okay, did we clear that up? Is everyone good? You know? Says, what do you think about gender essentialism, that men and women in nature is unchangeable? Bullshit. Men and women are a category of people that is a reductive category we've placed people into. Human beings come in all biological categories, and we should be taking into consideration the standard biological experience as well as well, everything's a biological experience, but the standard as well as other things. But we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. And people don't know that like men and women are not the only categories of seeing and expressing and being in the world. So we have to get the information out there that like there are so many variations of being a person in the world. And until we learn that, we're going to struggle. Like, I don't believe like men and women are even a real, like, I think it's a real category, but I don't think it's the bottom of the category. Like, I assume you're new to my audience. That's why you're asking me. The world thinks men and women are the foundation. I think it's more like this. And you could be any of these. And I think it's like billions of variations versus like, we just think it's this. And I just think that's so reductive. Because what the fuck is this? You know? And so I don't believe in that idea at all. Okay, check out this video. This is ICE, okay? How the citizens stopped ICE from arresting 2 immigrants.
Department of Homeland Security order.
It's a warrant.
Okay. No, it's not a warrant. It's not a warrant under the Constitution of the United States.
Warrant of arrest of alien.
Yeah, warrant of arrest of alien not signed by a judge. It's not a judicial warrant. I have no obligation to oblige by that warrant.
Okay, right? Look at this video. They formed a chain. They formed a chain to help block a father and son who were trapped in their car for hours, being targeted by ICE. She says, thank you for everything. I thank you for the bottom of my heart for support.
These are a couple of ICE officers currently in Nashville. They've identified themselves as Immigration Customs Enforcement, but they have not said so far their names or what office they're from. Is it possible to say?
Look at them dressed like regular people.
Sure.
They already know who we are. We're not going to identify ourselves to the public out here. We don't.
Okay, right? Both of these videos are from 6 years ago. These videos are both from 6 years ago. I just want everyone to understand that, you know, the world only moves so quickly and it always kind of looks the same. You know, the only difference is really like maybe the camera quality. And what's even worse is like they do just look like regular people. That's why I think ICE is so malicious, because they keep showing up often just looking like regular people. Now, this video is actually from the 10th, so 18 days ago. The gas station.
How do I know you're a citizen?
They're approaching this man. They're asking him for ID. He's just pumping his gas. And then somebody starts screaming, ICE is here, ICE is here.
You're naturalized? What year? not going to get out of your city, number one.
Yes, get the fuck out.
Not a Nazi.
Yes, you clearly. Oh, what does that say? Border Patrol. Yeah, you're a fucking Nazi. You work for the fucking orange fascists and chief. Yeah. Get the fuck out of our city, you Nazi piece of shit.
Number one, I'm not going to get out of your city because I live here.
Oh, you want to make? You want to make fucking? Okay, good for you. Good for you. You want to make fucking lampshades out of people's skin? Oh yeah, fuck you. Fuck you, Nazi piece of shit. Lampshades out of people's skin. Yeah, get the fuck out. Get out.
And that is how you do that. That is how you do that. Okay, let me see if I can find this video because I think, you know, when you clear your browser and then you press, like, I go to TikTok, but it always goes to the same fucking video. It's a Cutie Cinderella apology video. And I'm always gagged because, like, I just wanted to go to the TikTok homepage, but it saved the URL. And so every time I do this on stream, I start laughing at myself. You probably just hear Cutie go, Okay, stop. I crack myself up every time I see it. I'm just like, stop. Okay. You see.
Watch how one.
Okay, I don't know if this is real, but I saw this and I was like, please tell me this is real, because this is, wait, I hope this is the video. Let me see.
One simple conversation changed everything in seconds. A driver was just standing at a gas station minding his business when someone nearby noticed something wasn't right. She realized agents were about to question him. Instead of panicking, she pulled out her phone and started recording. She casually sparked a conversation, not aggressive, not loud, just enough to shift their attention. That's when the driver understood she wasn't a threat, she was a distraction. In a split second, he
This was okay. Watch. This is watch the original without the narrator.
Look out for each other. Stay alert.
So see the guy. So the ICE agents are surrounding the car. The guy is talking to them. Okay. She walks up to them.
Excuse me, I have on my business that you guys.
We're not inside that.
Even
Then he just takes off, and then they start, and then it looks like this car is gonna go block them. Maybe.
I have on my business that you guys.
We're not.
I saw this other video. ICE, hold on. Freeway. This is so stupid. ICE is so stupid. But you know what I think was the most frustrating thing about ICE is, like, they are chasing people. Like, oh, I don't know where I saw that video. It doesn't matter. ICE is like chasing people. Like, they will pull over and then you'll see construction workers, you know, with that green, you know, the green shirt they wear, the construction shirt, so they don't get hit, you know, it's bright. You'll just see people running and then ICE is chasing them. And I'm like, bro, what are you chasing workers for? They're literally in work uniform. That's why I say, like, even as a person, just human to human, how do you sleep at night? How do you sleep at night? You know what I mean? Excuse me. I feel like this. Someone asked me what am I drinking. I'm drinking pineapple juice. It's a little carbonated though. It's like, makes me a little burpy. Anyways, that's what's so frustrating to me is from a human perspective, like, why do you feel emboldened to do this? Now, obviously it's propaganda. That is first and foremost. It is propaganda. And it's the buying into propaganda that you have to deconstruct, period, no matter who you are, but especially if you're MAGA. But the dilemma is, like, it's really good propaganda. It really tells you, and this is why conspiracy theories are bad, going back to what we talked about earlier in chat, and I understand you're concerned about conspiracy theories. I'm with you, right? Conspiracy theories are conclusions made off bad data. MAGA is in a conspiracy theory that they don't know how to get out of because the conspiracy theory also tells them never to watch opposing viewpoints, never to read the books, never. And then on top of that, it's religious. So they can't do it because of religion. So one time when I was talking to my siblings about the levels, my sibling who's Catholic asked me, can I ever be a 5? And I said, well, in order to be a 5, right? In order to be a 5, you have to challenge the bubble you're in and maybe explore or do things that might be considered a sin in your religion. And they said, oh, in that case, I'm not going to do it. Fair, but also, doesn't that kind of tell you that you're living within a structural system that in order to be a good Catholic, in order to be a good MAGA, these are two separate things. They tend to overlap. You cannot explore or do something that is Discord. Discord, ICE. Why are you brown? Why are you brown? Stop. Just like, that's literally it. ICE is just like, so why you look like that? What does that even mean? That's why it's crazier when brown people join ICE. Anyway, okay. So, not funny. It's a little funny. Listen. So, that's what's so difficult about introspection, extrospection. It's so difficult to pop a bubble. It's so difficult to continually grow because you would have to keep learning. And look, how many people are tired of learning? Lots. You know? It's difficult, but it's worth it, you know? Right? Chet says, dude, I'll never be a 5. I enjoy my bubble structure too much. Hey, we love a structure. You don't have to. Good news. Like, you don't have to be a good person to be, you don't have to be a 5 to be a good person. Plenty of 2s can be decent. You don't have to be bigoted because you're a 2. You don't have to be hateful because you're a 2. You don't have to ever be a 5 to be a good person. So that's why I don't even care if people become 5s, because that's a personal journey. What I care about is that you're joyful. What I care about is that you're happy. What I care about is that you're not bigoted. What I care about is that you free yourself from the burden of bigotry. Because it is a burden. It's a burden to carry in your consciousness bigotry. Okay? This woman, this posted 5 days ago. I feel like I'm not hearing enough about this woman's story, so I thought we'd talk about it. U.S. citizen detained by ICE for 2 days. It's just trigger warning. Okay.
They took me. They kidnapped me. They took me. They arrested and detained me for 2 days, and I was put in county jail. ICE came. They came out of their cars. They asked me to see my ID. And while they were asking me to see the ID, that man, he called me the N-word. They pushed me hard. They used a lot of violence. My body still hurts. I got a concussion. It's really hard for me to speak because of that concussion. And I was screaming. I was crying. I was so scared. I've never been arrested in my life. I don't have a criminal record. I have a clean record. I was literal cuffs were put on my legs, cuffs on my hands. And I was actually detained with a Native American woman. And God bless her heart, she went through a lot too. She was.
Pause. So people were rightfully pointing out, wait, hold on. How could ICE arrest a Native American woman? How is ICE going around and asking Native American people, can I see your ID? Where are you from? What do you mean? What do you mean, where am I from? Just like, what are you talking about? And that is the point.
Also detained by ICE, and she was also a U.S. citizen, and like me, and she had gashes on her face. They shattered her windows. She had blood on her jeans, her corduroy jeans, and she was crying because she was so scared because she was with her dog, she was so scared that her dog got hurt. She was so scared for her life. We were both crying together. We were holding each other tight, and I'll never forget the fear that we both felt in our hearts that day. They kidnapped me.
So Chad says, have you heard of people disappearing from Social Security, like their names aren't in the system? Cops can't find citizens in their system. People's passports show they don't exist. I did. My friend sent me, because she was concerned, she sent me, there was this journalist, this lady, I don't know her name. Let me see if hold on. Let me see if I can pull up this TikTok. Hold on, it's loading. Friend sent me this. Oops. Friend sent me this because she was concerned about me.
This video is not super fun to make. However, I was encouraged to make it by the office of my congressional representative, which is a crazy thing to say out loud. Someone or something in the Trump administration wiped my existence from the US passport database. Let me explain. On December 19th, 2025, I received a notice at 2:17 in the morning, local time here in Los Angeles, that my access to the Global Entry Traveler Program had been revoked. And the reason for my revocation was that I no longer met the requirements for the Global Entry Program. Now, the requirements are not having been charged with a felony, check, never been charged with a felony. Having valid identification and documents, check, I have valid documents. My passport was not expired. And one of the last things on the eligibility list was not under investigation for terrorism. Well, that exact day, Pam Bondi sent a letter to the FBI requesting that pro-trans activists be labeled as domestic terrorists.
Which is like, I think my friend sent it to me because she's like, you're really outspoken. You're a US citizen. Like, you're living in a different country. You might want to just be aware that, like, you know, and it's true. Like, I fully have the flag on my channel. Like, I can't tell you how many people come onto my channel and say, like, oh, I'm reporting you for having that flag in the corner of your stream. Or, hey, like, I see that flag. I know which side you're on. I'm reporting you. Like, I get that all the time.
Shaking. So, as many of you guys know, I am a pro-trans activist. I have worked with the ACLU during the US versus Scrimetti case. I have a trans partner. I have a trans sister. I am very blessed to have many trans friends, and I have worked as a healthcare provider providing gender-affirming care for trans youth. And needless to say, I freaked the fuck out. I did also contact friends of mine who are attorneys and friends of mine who work in the federal government. And I was told there is a chance that this could have just been a clerical error. And so for the sake of my mental health, I just went with that. And they told me to go ahead and apply to renew my passport online and see what happens next. So last week, I did just that, and I applied on the US passport website to renew my passport online as it expires this coming year. I was then told that no one with my identity was found anywhere in the US passport system. At this point, I got in contact with my congressional representative and his office, and was told by...
Chat says, how does being pro-trans equal terrorism? So when Trump came out and made his speech and said there are only two genders... That's why the future cannot be bigoted. The future we cannot tolerate. That's why when people say, Brittany, you have to be able to build bridges with MAGA, like your shared values. What shared values could I have with a whole group of people whose platform is bigotry? Like, what shared values do you think I have with MAGA? That's what I'm saying. There is nothing good about MAGA policy, nothing good about Republican policy. I don't know why we're trying to build bridges with these people. Like, either Republicans can get their shit together and we can start building bridges with moderate Republicans that aren't about bigotry, or you guys can figure the fuck out. The future is progressives v. Democrats. The future is not Republican policy. No bigotry, period. But when Trump made that speech and he said, there's only two genders, male, female, okay, that was on purpose. And that was so on purpose so he could do shit like this.
One of the field staff here.
And by the way, that's why Europe has put out a disclaimer and said not to travel to the US if you're LGBTQ. Because like even the EU is in battles right now with Poland and other places because some people are trying to do their whole like, well, we don't see gay marriage as marriage. And they're like, we don't give a fuck. If you're part of the EU, straighten up. Okay? And that's the point. Like, I am a queer person. I am openly a queer person, right? And that's why my two queer siblings, I'm like, can I get them over here? Like, is that a possibility? Because at the end of the day, like the United States, you can stay and fight. And I think that's valid. You can also leave. I think that's valid. Whatever you do, you have to do the right thing for you and your family. And I'm never going to feel bad about people leaving. You know what I mean? Because like, I understand it. People leave war-torn countries all the time. People stay and fight all the time. It's always about what's good for you and your family. And I'm not going to blame people for leaving. What I will recommend you do, though, is know which part you're playing in the story, to know your role in the story. For some of my siblings, it may make sense for them to stay and fight. It might make sense for them to leave. Like, it might not make sense for my queer siblings to come here. It might not do them any, like, it might not be better for them. And so it's always going to be different for different people. So don't pick, it's not right or wrong. It's what is the right answer for you.
In Los Angeles, that this specific notice was unusual and that there had been a record of clerical errors where...
And also for all the people considering immigrating to the US, you might want to look at other places, right? Like maybe the US is still the answer for you because like that's the hard part to process. The US might still be the best answer for a lot of people. Remember that too. Remember for all the people who are trying to leave, there are people who are trying to get there. That's the irony of being a person. That's the crazy part about being a person. Yeah.
People had been like removed from the passport system because their passport was incorrectly marked lost or stolen. That is not what happened to me. And I was told that if that had happened, the error message that I received would have said that. It didn't. It said that no one with my identity was found anywhere in the U.S. passport.
See, that's
system.
scary.
So, with the help of my congressional representative and his office, I am now waiting for an appointment with the U.S. Passport Office here in Los Angeles to see what's going on, to see if there are any holds on my access to my legal documents that would allow me to travel and leave the country, and why this is happening. Because right now, no one seems to have a clear reason why. And again, it could be clerical error. However, knowing that I am allegedly the only person that this specific series of events has happened to, and also knowing that the Global Entry Program is a completely different governmental agency than the passport system, and that both of them had been alerted of me. I don't know. So that is my update for you guys. And
well, I'm glad she's sharing because I think it's important. There were some updates as well, and I think we should keep tabs. I don't know what the latest update has been. If anyone follows her, she's really popular on Instagram. See, okay, let me see. Yeah, I'm not getting an update. I don't know where the update post might be, if there's one. It looks like she's a nurse. Her name is Alexis Rose. She's popular. Yeah, I don't know. There's been a proper update. I saw a secondary update, but I didn't get much out of it. This was the second update. I don't see a third.
Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday morning, and I just returned from my appointment.
It did get weirder and more complicated. Here, I'll link it so you guys can check it out on your own time. Because I do think, like, that's scary to me. Like, just keeping tabs on stuff, I'm like, Jesus, that makes me nervous. Okay, now I want to switch gears. We're still talking about ICE, but I want to show you, again, the politician and then tech conversation around ICE here. Let me pull this up. This is for Palestine. Okay, look at this.
Abolishing or defunding. Do you support abolishing or defunding ICE?
We absolutely have to clean house. Whatever that looks like, I am willing to do it. Because if there are truly Proud Boys that are currently in ICE, that's a problem.
We have seen this historic increase in funding for ICE. That money has come out of our healthcare. So what I would say is that we should take that money back and put it in our communities where it belongs.
Would you support abolishing?
So this, when was this? 3 days ago. This is the debate between Texas Senate candidates, okay? This is Jasmine Crockett, which I'm sure you've heard a lot about. And then James, how do you even say his name? James Tallarico? I don't even know how to say his name. Jasmine Crockett has been on my side of TikTok because the progressives have been very critical of her stances, as she did vote to fund Israel. And that's frustrating. I think, like, people are feeling like she's very liberal. I think she is in an incredibly difficult situation to be a Black woman, to be in Texas, to have to be strong and compassionate, right? So I think there's something here that's difficult. I think what I want to point out here is the politics of the answer. Is like, this is politics. Like, the answer they have to give is the political one. You know what I'm saying? I used to snort debates by politicians. I used to live for that shit. And now I watch it and I'm just like, okay, do something. Yeah, I get it, but do something. And the issue is, like, that political answer, as long as that's the way we talk about people's civil rights, we will never get anywhere. That's why I say, like, I'm not interested in building bridges. Do the right thing. Stop fucking with people. That's what's frustrating. Now, that's the politician bubble. Look at the tech bubble.
Silence. Is this what finally breaks corporate America's silence? OpenAI CEO Sam Altman told his employees via Slack that what's happening with ICE is going too far. On X, Anthropic CEO called what's happening in Minnesota a horror. At Davos, JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon told the audience, "I don't like what I'm seeing," in reference to Minneapolis. Until now, very few executives have spoken up or pushed back against this administration, instead following the CEO playbook of the Trump 2.0 era. Get in line and stay silent. Even when CEOs have been compelled to say something, they've been light on substance. For example, more than 60 leaders of some of Minnesota's largest companies released a public letter over the weekend calling for an immediate de-escalation of tensions. The letter did not once mention ICE or the names of the 2 Minnesotans killed by federal agents. Instead, it read like a case study and carefully worded both-siderism.
And I do think ICE is losing traction. I do think there's like I do think it escalated too far, and it felt like the news now, or the way they're claiming it, I don't even know if this is true. It's the way they're talking about it, though. The branding is Trump is losing momentum. ICE is losing momentum. I don't know if that's true, but if that's the sentiment, then these men, these tech guys, these CEOs, these corporate guys might be jumping on because it's good for branding. Oh, yes, we're very upset now. Now that people have decided they're upset, we're also upset. Because now, you know, even the NRA coming out and more conservative leaning people coming out upset with the killing of Alex makes people now speak up. So then it's like a question of like, is this just more like pink washing, like more like pink capitalism, right? Is this kind of like you're all about pride until it's not cool anymore, then you're anti-pride, and then also you're pro-pride again, you know?
That's what happens when statements are written by committees and legal departments. They get watered down. But here is the upside. It also tells us that this letter represents the median position, which means there are probably CEOs who wanted to say and do more. It's now time for one of those CEOs to break from the pack and have their Ken Frazier moment. Back in 2017, Frazier, who was then the CEO of Merck, resigned from a presidential advisory council after Trump said there was blame on both sides after the deadly rally in Charlottesville. His move forced the hands of other CEOs who sat on the council, and the group was ultimately disbanded. When federal agents are killing U.S. citizens in the streets, it's clear we are in another one of those make or break moments for CEOs. This is no longer about politics. Do CEOs want to be the kinds of leaders who stand up for the rights and safety of their employees and customers? Or do they want to be the kind who show up at the White House for a screening of the Melania documentary hours after Alex Preddy was killed?
Oof.
We see you, Tim Cook.
Oof. Oof. Chat says, I guess I'm torn because I'd rather them say something, I guess, than nothing at all. Okay, but go deeper. Go deeper. That's all I'm asking you guys to do. Okay, let's pretend I just started stream. Hey guys, you know, I'm just so bummed about what's happening. Literally so upset. And you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't have to say it clearly, but the thing that happened that was really upsetting this week, super bummed. If we could just like all hold hands and get along, that'd be super great. Also, guys, please subscribe and send me a membership and join my Patreon because I am devastated about what's happened. And I just want to say something. Okay, guys, thanks for coming to my stream. I really appreciate it. You are absolutely the best. I'll see you next time. Bye. Okay, are we content? Is that what we want? Because that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Okay, so thanks for saying something, I guess. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't say anything. They put out a post vaguely referencing something that happened. You know? Right? You said that's not the version I'm talking about. Haha, I wouldn't count that. But you did count it in your statement. Process what you just said in my stream. Because we don't know you, right? I just showed you a story in which they did just that. And then you said, I'm torn because I'd rather them say something than not. And I don't know if you are talking about something else, but that's what I just told you. That's what the story just told you. The story just said that they put out a statement, not referencing what it was about, saying they cared, but nothing happened. That's literally what the news story was, right? You said, my bad, I didn't process the story, I meant in general. Well, but take it a step further. Challenge yourself, right? A step further is still just them doing what they think is good, right? And I'm saying something isn't enough unless you name it for what it is. So like celebrities on the recent awards where they were having the Stop ICE pins. Okay, now we know what it's about. It's clear. I'll take it. I'll take it. Stop ICE. I'll take it. Okay? But that's them saying it's about ICE. So, okay, better than nothing. I'll take it. Right? Some of them are more activist than others, right? But I'll take it. this unnaming, this not taking a stand, this not going against the administration, this, you know, I won't take it. So make sure you give credit where credit is due when it's good enough. And this is the stance I've been taking with my own MAGA family, which is like, if I talk to my MAGA family and they go, yeah, dude, I'm super bummed over what's happening. Like, okay, one of my brothers a while ago, months ago, he called me about Israel, Palestine. He was like, yeah, bro, like it really sucks. Like, both sides really suck. And I was like, well, actually, let's talk about that. Like, let's talk about it. And he is receptive. And now he doesn't both sides it when he talks about it. Now he's like, oh, like it's really fucked up what's happening to Palestine. I was like, it is fucked up what's happening to Palestine. Like he first started talking about, because he's conservative, he's Catholic, right? He first started talking about it like, fuck those people, everyone sucks. Then, okay, he started saying, you know what Israel's doing is really fucked up. And I was like, uh-huh. And then it's moving people slowly by giving them the language, but telling him it's not good enough to say both sides. And that's why I told him, I said, I love you. You don't know what you're talking about. But when you're ready, I'll tell you. And when you're ready, you can watch videos. And he went, he did some research. He came back, okay? And he was like, oh, shit, those videos are crazy. I was like, those videos are crazy, right? And so that's what I've been doing with people. It's not enough to just say people suck. Everybody sucks, okay? But let's have a real conversation, right? And so I think that's the thing is like, some of it isn't good enough and I need people to know, right? Chet says, oh, wow, he actually listened to you. Well, he is on a journey where he is more receptive than he's ever been. So again, this isn't me. I'm not doing it. He's doing it, okay? He's the one who's receptive. So now he's going to the family, and the family who's gotten stuck in the Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes bubble, and they start saying things like, oh, yeah, the Jews. He goes, no, guys, Israel. And then they're like, oh yeah, Israel. And he goes, Israel. And I'm like, but that isn't me doing it. That is him being open and receptive and ready to change. And I don't know how far we'll go, right? But that is him being receptive. And now his job is to go to the family and say like, you know what I mean? And so that's what it is. We're trying to move everybody, because language is really important. You know, language is really key. And the fact that my MAGA family, parts of it, because you remember there's 12 people in the family, we're all in different pockets. The fact that some of them don't even know how bad Nick Fuentes is because they see him on Tucker Carlson, they go, he's just a sweet little Catholic boy. No. Even my brother was like, yo, guys, Nick Fuentes is like a really bad person. And they were like, no, we saw him in Tucker Carlson. He seems like a sweet boy. My brother's like, no. You gotta see him on his own show. He's a bad guy. Like, he's a bad guy. He's not a real Catholic. He's a bad guy. And like, my brother will sit there and like, that's his job, because they don't want to hear it from their progressive siblings. Like the progressive kids, they're not going to listen to us, but they'll listen to the, you know, but they don't hear it. Like they don't see it. That's why Charlie Kirk got away with what he got away with. Guys, there are parts of America that never saw and never gets to see Nick Fuentes or Charlie Kirk be what we know them as. Remember that we are online. They never see that. They only see them doing cute interviews. Okay, this is why, can I just tell you this? Don't tell anybody. This is just between us. I tried to watch Hassan again this morning to get my morning coffee in, and he was talking about debating Asmongold. Why? Why are you debating Asmon? Why? When will these boys learn? Don't talk to them. Don't validate them. Don't let his name in your mouth. And that's what I'm saying. Because all people keep seeing is Asmon talking to Hassan and going, oh, he's kind of cool. He talked to Hassan. Oh, Nick Fuentes, he's kind of cool. He was on a panel with Hassan once, right? Oh, like this person's pretty cool. They were like, they're so willing to meet in the middle. And I'm like, stop talking to these people. But that's what my parents see. So my parents see, oh, wow, that's really cool. Look at them talking together. See, he's cool. Oh, see, they're cool. And I'm like, oh, and I'm like, this is the problem. You are validating MAGA. You are validating MAGA. You're validating MAGA, you know? And that's why it's frustrating for me, because this can't be the future. The future cannot be platforming bigotry and calling it a debate. But it always has been and it always will be. But I'm over it. You know? But yeah, they don't see it. They don't see it. Like my parents don't see it. Remember, the propaganda is really good. They say never watch anybody who's opposing to you. My parents will never watch Nick Fuentes outside of the context in which he is curating content for the viewers to like him. Remember, he does not talk the same way on his guest interviews as he does on his own show. Okay? Yeah, and then Chad say, wow, at least Asman can have conversations with people he doesn't agree with. And then, of course, if the left doesn't talk to conservatives, it's like, oh, leftists, they'll never talk to people who are different from them because they don't want to be challenged. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my God, please. It's so frustrating to me. I know Chad says Hassan just be doing shit for real. Man, I saw a clip from him from the Young Turks where he said the N-word. Hard ER. Bro, I was like, Brittany always clocks this before me. I didn't clock it. It wasn't me. Like, I didn't even clock it before you guys. I live on the internet and I only watch videos. And by the way, I hadn't even seen that. That was from Foreign's video, right? I posted that video on my feed. I hadn't even seen those clips. I didn't know the Young Turks were over here throwing out the hard ER. I didn't know that. I was literally like, having my morning coffee and I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, it felt like I was fucking getting slapped around like when Gojo, I was like, oh my God, what is happening? I was literally so shocked. I did not know that was a thing, but apparently they were quoting somebody. Oh my God. I told my Discord, I was like, I trigger warned. I was like trigger warning because I was not ready. It was crazy. It was just insane. You guys haven't seen it? Wait, I promoted, Foreign did a video on it. I put it on my, hold on, let me go find it. I put it on my post. Hold on, let me see. I did not know that. Whew, I was sweating. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Humans are so, and this is why I say I stand by what I said.
So flicking real right now. You mean
I really like Foreign's content. He makes great content. Hold on, trigger warning. Okay, guys, just trigger warning. Because, like, again, this is old. They were quoting somebody. I don't watch the Young Turks. I don't watch Hassan like that. I just watch them for work, you know? I don't watch them as, like, fans. But I was shocked. I was, like, not emotionally prepared.
this? Tell me come home. If you see me like this for my white faves, them, sign me.
Okay, wait. Hold on. For context of this clip, this is the middle of the video. He's talking about Ana Kasparian, and he's talking about why. Okay, he called it the fascists are fighting. He called it the fascists are fighting. Okay, it's Ana Kasparian versus Pearl Davis, and I know people are like, Brittany just hates Ana because blah blah blah. I don't hate Ana. I just think she is basically a conservative in the making. Because she failed on one of the easiest things to have a progressive view on, which is housing, like being unhoused. Even though I understand she was assaulted and I'm deeply like, you know, just like devastated for her, like deeply. Okay, like that's so sad. And I also think like, hold up, you know, wait a second. So, okay.
Men, what King Bach was to whites, a token. And tokens get what? Spent. Because unlike Candace Owens, another far more successful pick-me, Pearl lost her relevancy over the last year or two, which is why I believe that she agreed to this debate with her and Ana Kasparian.
You talk for a living? It's kind of rich for you to come at me. What do you do for a living? I also talk, but I can acknowledge it's not that hard of a job.
Talk a lot. And for the record, Ana also came out against trans women and she was being weird about trans people.
Y'all are making fan edits of Ana now.
Not only fan edits, guys, I watched a video this morning of a guy talking about being in love with Ana Kasparian. He was like eating cereal and like, Ana. And I was like, what is happening? And it's because it's the same thing. When we see people in like the bubbles of the context of their content. We don't see them as a whole. So if you just see Ana like poning the MAGA, you're gonna be like, oh my God. And then you don't understand. That's why people on TikTok literally think Destiny fights for women. Because every time a Destiny clip comes across my feed, it's always him talking about like, you know, battling Fresh and Fit. And the comments are like, who's this man? It's so nice to see a man fight for women. Well, he's literally recording people and sharing their intimate videos. And by the way, with a minor, like, Destiny is literally facing a felony for a reason. He's literally a predator. And I know a lot of us didn't know that while we were collabing with him, but it's out now. You can't take it back. It's over. He shouldn't even be platformed. Not a single person should be platforming Destiny. And still, he is somehow all over my fucking feed. I was watching a completely different interview. Guys, I was watching a completely different interview. And then all of a sudden, it was two people talking, and then all of a sudden it panned over and there was Destiny. And I was like, what the fuck? He's everywhere. Like, I literally, here I am thinking I'm watching completely different content. He's not even in the room. It's just a political podcast. And all of a sudden the camera, okay?
I need y'all to stop. Oh God. love seeing patriarchal pick-me's get packed up, right? But I have a problem with the way in which Anna Kasparian has been getting glazed. This is a fan edit of Anna, of which there were plenty. Tweets extolling her progressive adeptitude, fawning over her and her feminism, and framing her to be the feminist we need to combat the conservative call back to the kitchen for the women them. And that ain't...
Hold on. I love that people don't know. Felony charges, Destiny, multiple women came out. Destiny had either against their consent and without their knowledge recorded them during sex acts, had either recorded them with their consent and shared without their consent sex acts. He leaked those pictures or sent those pictures to an alleged minor whose boyfriend had to come out and say, like, that girl's a minor. Okay, she claimed she was older, but Destiny did nothing to verify, and he did age play with her. You can see all the messages. They're out. They're crazy. Okay? Then that got hacked, allegedly, and they all got to the internet. So all of those women, all those other partners he had been with, and by the way, and male partners too, male and female partners, maybe non-binary people, I'm not sure, but multiple people's videos of sex acts were all over the internet because Destiny was sharing videos with people. It's just so horrible. These women didn't even know. These men didn't even know. They didn't know. They didn't know their intimate videos were being shared. They didn't even know, some of them, that they were being recorded. And then, like, just think about how scary. That's so scary. That's so gross. That's what I'm saying. Like, why are we even platforming him? And by the way, not only did he admit it, he fully admitted it in DMs and on stream, but he said, like, okay, it's not like a big deal. It wasn't like, you know, everyone's like blowing this out of proportion. And by the way, that's why I'm saying stop platforming these people, including Asmon, including Ethan, all these people who are adjacent to Destiny, all these people who are adjacent with each other. That's why waking up this morning and having coffee and listening to Hassan say, oh, I'll debate Asmon when he wants me to. Why? Asmon, who said nice things about Nick Fuentes recently, who said he would love to do a collab with Nick Fuentes. Why? Why does Hassan need to do this in his position? Why does he need to platform these boys and give them microphones? Okay, any idea that Hassan has that he's going to convert these viewers is egotistical. If these men are ready to hear you, they'll come watch you, Hassan. They know who you are. You going on their platform is not going to be the thing, okay? No matter how much his ego tells him to, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Case, because I know you all can't be talking about the same Anna that did this. Brace yourself for this. Supercut.
Get ready, get ready. Hold on. Get ready.
The Young Turks hosts repeatedly drop N-word. However many thousand people right now I see inside the chat right now, y'all could be the only people that could be able to see this, because I doubt I could be able to play this in the VOD.
I apologize. I know these are like difficult words to hear, but words like you are why I lost my job. He only shot a run.
Hold on, I didn't know Hassan was in there. Hold on, I didn't know Hassan.
He only shot a run.
Hold on, I didn't know Hassan was in there. Hold on, I didn't know Hassan was in there too. Hold on, why?
This or okay, so they're like, all right, you cover that Jerry Rice looking.
Whatever. Head.
My stream still up?
Oh God.
Weekend at
His ranch was called Head. Shoes and
lover on it.
Which is better, or cracker?
It was apparently called Head.
Oh, you're
doing nothing and being a lazy.
They were lovers.
Oh God.
Chat says, okay, reading a quote, I guess it's better than it being for funsies. I don't think so. I don't. That black woman we watched earlier who said the ICE agents picked her up and abused her didn't even say the N-word. She said the N-word. Even black people aren't saying the N-word in professional settings. Why the fuck are you? Why are you? Why are you saying it? It's not better. Whoa. No. They are supposed to be a news YouTube channel at the time. At the time, they are the news people. Why are you saying this word?
I have to take a break. No, so I have, I have to take a break in between doing it, because I know that successive N-words, I can't say it because I get, Can't say it.
Yeah, do you know you get demonetized if there's like a lot of N-words in a stream and stuff? But also it's triggering, bro. It's super triggering to people. That's what I'm saying. Like, we are getting triggered. Okay? Like, stop saying it. Chad says, I generally agree. I think I'm open to it being used when discussing the historical context of racism in a documentary or academic setting that is very formal and intentional. Listen, all words are just words, but some words, it's a very rare context in which that word is appropriate, especially by who is saying it. Okay? So if you want to make sure to harm reduce that a black host is saying it and they're the one educating, fine. But it is a very rare circumstance in which we would even use those words even historically, right? So I would caution everyone from being very casual about the way words are used. It's okay. Listen, we're not talking about policing thoughts or policing words, or we're not talking about you educating your children in your home to explain what words are. We're talking about a public YouTube channel in which you are putting the hosts and everybody involved in a situation where not only is it very triggering, but it's incredibly inappropriate. You know what I mean? Apparently it was the hard ER. So that's, it's like, it's very specific. And I do think like we need to be very careful about why, like, especially listening to Foreign say this is triggering. Like, listen to him when he says that. It's very triggering to hear this slur over and over and over again. And you're sitting here like, I'm just trying to watch the news. I'm just trying to get my news. Now imagine, right? Like, you're that minority group, you're that group, and you just got to hear it over and over again. That's why hearing Kyle Kulinski call women the B word can get very annoying to me. Because I'm like, hey, I don't like you saying that word anymore, bro. Because now you're just using it misogynistically, like in a misogynistic way. And it's getting triggering. Okay? So stop. So again, we want to have the conversation that harm reduces for the community. It is unnecessary in most educational circumstances to even have to say the word. It is like, I can only think of like very few circumstances in which that would make sense. Most of the time, we're all adult enough to know the word. So in college settings, why would you need to use it? We know what the word is. Okay? When explaining it to your kid for the first time, sure, but why ever again? Right? It's like, why do we need to use it? We know what it is. We know what it means.
Successive N-words trigger the monetization signal and maybe even like the community guideline strikes.
It does.
Imagine me getting a community guideline strike for playing this. Can you imagine that? I will burn everything down. Everything has to go. I will be Nero playing the fiddle as Rome burnt.
Given time to learn his lesson.
White crackers. Yeah. Does that mean that we can say black? There will never be a
45.
See? Was that necessary? Was that necessary?
Seconds worth of N-word. They could say this was a different time. They could say, oh, she was quoting someone that actually said it. Let me tell you all troglodytes something. I could say the same thing I said to Fantano, who I grew up on. I grew up watching the needle drop. I consider the dog a friend. There's no way that you will get me the top dance of the distraction for a compilation of tactical N-words over 10 seconds long. Oh God. There's no justification for there to be a digital footprint that includes you saying the N-word that can be compiled to almost a minute. Once is a mistake. Twice, 3 times as a lifestyle. When you see me out there doing one of these, tell me come home. If you see me like this for my white faves, them, sign me out. Where Lisa Simpson, log me out at Twitch now. Cause there ain't no saving me at that point, my lord. There ain't no white person got no hold on me like that, dog. Cause my ma one son ain't about to be no black shield for no milkman them. They got a super cut on N-words. They got more N-words than a church got O-Lords. Oh God. They got a cut. So naturally, they then proceeded to leave the left. I'm a woman. Please don't ever refer to me as a birthing person with a uterus, as a person with a uterus, birthing person, or person who menstruates. How do you people not realize how degrading this is? You can support the transgender community without doing this.
So just to be clear, these are the same people who have the audacity to say progressives are annoying, and I don't want to be with them. So, hello?
Bad faith. They know there's a difference between gender and sex. They know that it is very possible for someone to be born a biological male or a biological female, but in terms of gender, identify differently as a male or non-binary, but they still have the biological capacity, the physical capacity to get pregnant. So,
man, who out here telling anybody that they's a birthing person? Oh, God. That's not.
Okay, bros. Here, I'll link the video. This is Foreign Fridays. This is his side channel. If I'm not mistaken, right? I think his main channel, let me see. It's Foreign Man in a Foreign Land, which you've definitely probably heard of. I'll link both channels in the chat. Okay, so like all of this to say, it's not about never changing or never getting better. Foreign even says, I'm friends with Fantano, the music guy with the glasses. FD has come out to support, right? It's not like they can't say that you had a past of saying the N-word and now you do your due diligence, It's the fact that the TYT especially has the audacity to have a collage of the N-word and then to also be like, we should hold hands with MAGA and we should be, anti-progressive rhetoric, and also I'm going to throw unhoused people under the bus, and also fuck trans people, and also it's like, are you really going in the better direction? Did you really learn your lesson? Are you really getting better? So the idea is like, that stressed me out. That video stressed me out because I didn't even know that. So when you say Brittany knew before, I didn't look. I just saw. Listen. I came from a space where I was being very lenient on misogynistic men, like super fucking nice. Okay? Wouldn't push back, very little pushback, very little eye roll, very little anything, to the point where I was like, oh, this endangered my life. My life was endangered. And then I realized like, I endangered other people's lives by being lenient on misogynistic men. I'm going to stop doing that. And then I started watching Hassan, thinking, okay, Hassan's safe. Then I started watching him and I was like, I hear the same rhetoric. And I'm like, okay, well, Hassan is obviously way better. But, and then I wake up this morning to him talking about collabing with Asman. And I'm just like, and that he says it's not a collab. I don't know what you guys think a collab is. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, people are like, Brittany, stop calling it a collab. It is a collab. It doesn't matter if they're on opposite sides. It is a collab. Remember when Ethan collabed? I know they say it's not a collab. I don't know what the fuck you think a collab is, really. But like, okay, maybe I'm being a little too like, oh, it's not a collab. It's a debate. Whatever. Okay, your names are both on the headline. Okay, it's a collab. Anyways, when Ethan debated Fresh and Fit, and I was really annoyed because I was like, you've already talked to them before. You already know the thing. Why are you platforming them? And everyone's like, somebody has to put Fresh and Fit in their place. Yeah, but when Ethan, with his huge following, brings them on his show just to own them, all he's doing is platforming them at that point. So it feels like frustrating to me, I think, when I see that. And I'm just like, well, this feels deeply unnecessary. But then they feel like it is necessary because somebody has to put them in their place. Can't you do that by just watching their content? Do you have to do it by giving them a microphone? You know what I mean? But like, okay, I get it the first time, maybe even the second time, but you know what I mean? Like how many times? I don't know. It's whatever. I get it. We're all on different journeys. I have to do my thing. They have to do their thing. But this is the thing I'm doing. And I'm just I'm not a fan, The fascist collab, get ready with me. Yeah, exactly, chat. Exactly. It's like, okay, I guess, Anyways, well, all of this said, I am not accusing Hassan of anything. I'm just saying, for me, every time I try to watch him and I try to engage with his, I try to engage with his content, as a viewer, I do get frustrated at as a commentator, like as a, I see what he's doing politically. I just like, you know, I try. I'm not stupid. Like I do try. I just, you know. But Foreign, love that video. Could watch Foreign. I'm pretty good with him right now. I'm good with FD right now. I'm good with Elliot. I'm good with a lot of people right now. I hope to remain good with them right now. I hope to remain enjoying their content because, you know, I want to watch something too. Okay, I want to watch something too. I think people forget too, like, you know, I want to enjoy somebody talking about politics too. And it's becoming frustrating as we get, you know, into 2026. Guys, like, you know, I'm losing Chelsea. I'm losing all these people that I used to watch on a regular to an extent. And I'm like, like I want to watch. I love commentary. I love streams. I love watching people give me their opinions. I live for it. I would also, you know, yeah. Anyways, okay, let's do this. Let's take a break. And I'll come back. And then we'll talk about Palestine and other topics I have for today, okay? Be right back. Be right back, back. Be right back. All right, I'm here. Okay, I'm gonna pause music. I see chat talking about the brothel incident with Hassan. Look, I don't know. This is the part of the Hassan stories that I think are interesting. Look, the only people I see pushing that story are Hassan haters, like Destiny people. So I have looked into it, and as far as I can see, it has been debunked, right? Hassan went to a brothel that after he was there and way later was raided, which has nothing to do with him, right? Some people are just anti-brothels or sex work in general. So maybe there's something to be said about that. But I am a sex worker and I'm pro-sex work. I think sex work can be ethical. Do I think like that particular brothel was? I don't know. Apparently some people say they got raided for tax reasons, which is normal. Most brothels do get raided. From my sex worker friends who work in brothels do get raided because of taxes, but I don't know, because allegedly people were spreading on the internet it was for sex trafficking, but I don't know. Somebody would have to look into it a little bit more, but the problem is I see a lot of women on the internet hate Hassan for this reason of going to a brothel. He didn't use the brothel. As far as I know, he also apparently is pro-sex work. You know, Chad said it's not anti-sex work when there are children working there. I didn't see anything about that. That's the first time I'm hearing about it. And I've heard this story 1,000 times. Every time I ever read about that story, never learned about children. So now I'm like, who said that? Right? So then if you have the receipts, show them. But just going to a brothel alone is not a bad thing. Maybe you can talk about the people working there. Like, certainly no one should be, in my mind, taking advantage of survival sex workers. Okay? You said I was a sex worker. Okay, that's fine. But, you know, again, I'm not trying to say that it didn't happen. I'm trying to say I'm cautious of people who bring that story up because it seems like why would Hassan know that the brothel was bad? Do you know what I'm saying? What does Hassan and the brothel being bad have to do with the other? Don't you think these are two different steps? Like, you're bringing it up in my chat like they have something to do with each other. And I'm saying, I don't know why you think that matters. When he visited before it was raided and he doesn't know anything about it. He bragged about using the brothel. Okay. I don't know. Like, you're trying to insinuate that he like did something evil there, right? I'm trying to say we don't know that. Him visiting isn't enough for you to say he engaged or did something bad or had sex. Are you implying he had sex with a child? Like, what are you implying? You know what I mean? You said the video was taken down where the brothel was exposed and exploited children. Well, maybe because the video was wrong. Do you think maybe it got taken down for misinformation? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you ever think that maybe the video got taken down because it was wrong? Do you think like maybe that happened? You know what I mean? Like, it's a big accusation. So again, like, I would be very cautious with throwing sex workers under the bus just because you hate Hassan. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm going to block everybody today. He said Hassan said we deserve 9/11, so I wouldn't be surprised if he had been a misogynist or whatever. Guys, he doesn't. You cannot be in my chat. I have to block you on principle. If you do not understand what Hassan meant by America deserved 9/11, you are not ready for this class. This is an advanced class. Okay? Like, you are not ready for this class. You're like in 5th grade and we're in high school. Okay? You are like in high school and we're at university. Okay? You have no concept of media literacy if you do not understand what Hassan meant when he said America deserved 9/11. Like, you can't be in this class. Okay? But thanks for trying. Thanks for being here. That's what I'm saying. I hate criticizing Hassan because what it does is makes Hassan haters think I'm one of them. Okay? Chat said Hassan is very sarcastic sometimes, and I think there are people who don't get it. No. That comment was not sarcastic. It was pointed. He was making a point. That's the thing. And he is sarcastic and people don't get it, but that's not the point. He was making a very pointed and very important political commentary on the reality that 9/11 was the absolute result and consequence of America's political action in the Middle East. Okay? That these things do not happen in a vacuum. Speaking of which, let's talk about Palestine. And let's remember this year through photos. Two friends reunited after one was finally released from captivity by Israel. People's homes and buildings destroyed by Israel, backed by the US. That's beautiful, man. That's so Luffy of him. I love that. Children fighting for any scrap of food they can get. People starving. Children starving to death. Images that people claim aren't real. Someone's real life. Okay? So you need to be, if you're going to be on the stream, you got to lock in. Okay? You can't just hate people because you can't hate people anyways. No hating people. You have no enemies. You're simply two biological creatures experiencing life together. And look at the chaos we can bring to each other. Look at it. Okay? So again, when Hassan is under criticism, criticize him for the right reasons, but you don't even know what that is. You don't even know what it is. You have to be able to understand someone to disagree with them. Okay? No, Chaz says, didn't Hassan also get accused of dating someone her age? I've never heard that. I've never seen proof of that. Okay? I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying I'm happy to go after Hassan for all the right reasons, but none of the other ones. That's why I say Hassan can't listen to liberals or centrists because you guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay? But he should be listening to progressive voices, and especially women. Thank you. Okay. So Palestine obviously is still suffering. The alleged ceasefire is obviously not real. Okay? Obviously. And all of that stuff, is still happening and is devastating. So I saw this TikTok and I thought this was interesting. This is from AJ Plus. If you guys don't watch AJ Plus, it's it's a good source. I like it. They talked about this new media platform that I hadn't even heard of. Are you guys on this? Do you know anything about this? Here.
A new social media platform created by a Palestinian technologist is quickly gaining popularity as people move beyond TikTok and other social media platforms. Upscrolled was developed by Issam Hijazi with support from the Tech for Palestine incubator. As TikTok faces increasing outages and censorship concerns, Upscrolled has jumped into the top downloads among social networking apps. Many users say they're moving to Upscrolled to protest big tech and control over the algorithm. They're calling it a space with no censorship and no billionaires. Current trending topics on Upscrolled are #FreePalestine, #ICE, and #Gaza. Some users have also noted that when you search for Israel in the app, the top suggested locations are occupied territories of Palestine and Palestine. Hijazi says Upscrolled isn't just another platform, but instead a reimagining of what social media should be, a place where communities and creators have real control, transparency, and accountability.
What is this? What do you guys know what this is? I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. I will say this. TikTok has been shit since it got bought up. You know what I mean? TikTok has gotten so bad, but I don't know if it's actual censorship or just they fucked up the app somehow. You know what I mean? No. Chess says Hassan was accused by another YouTuber called Lav. He was dating her friend. None of that was true. They took it back. Lav is a fucking liar. And I know because I've collabed with Lav. I know Lav. We had a moment together online. She's lying. It never happened. She had to take it back. She put it behind a paywall. None of that was true. None of it was true. Okay? Not true. All of it was false. Also, fun fact, Billie Eilish said she wishes she wrote one of the songs that Lav wrote because Lav is also a singer. Okay? Yeah, not true. That got debunked forever ago. That's what I'm saying. Okay? Now, check this out.
President Trump has unveiled his Board of Peace this week during a speech in Davos, Switzerland. It's supposed to focus on Gaza initially. Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, laid out a vision for a new Gaza. NPR's Aya Batrawi reports.
Kushner says this new Gaza will be a flourishing economic zone that creates jobs and prosperity for people there, free of Hamas and heavy weapons. Kushner's plan envisions Gaza with trains, an airport, advanced manufacturing zones, parks, and a coastline for tourists with high-rise towers that resemble Dubai. It also includes more than 100,000 homes, though the UN says 6 times that amount existed before the war. Ghada Doher, a mother of 4, says the plan looks nice at first glance, but it is not Gaza. That all our rights and our homes are gone. She says all we want is aid and Israel to open the border. Aya Batrawi, NPR News, Dubai.
This is crazy, bro. Just look at these fucking images.
Economic zone that creates jobs and
there's it.
Advanced manufacturing zone.
So, okay, so they destroyed Gaza, completely destroyed it. I'm going to show you in a second. Destroyed Gaza. And now they're like, let's reimagine how beautiful Gaza can be. This is not the future. We cannot move humanity into the future by destroying it. You know what I mean? But this is the testament. This is every Miyazaki film. This is why I love Miyazaki's commentary on the environment, because this is every film he makes. The way we destroy, recreate, destroy, create, destroy. Now, I'm not saying we should keep things or we shouldn't advance. I'm saying the advance can't come at the expense of everybody else, right? So if jobs are going obsolete, we need to transition people into better work. If housing is getting updated, we need to move people into that housing. But they are killing people, displacing people to kick them out and not even give them. They're not going to let those people back in. Think about what they're doing. They're literally, genociding Gaza, genociding Palestine, and those families aren't going to come back in. Okay? Look.
At the remains of the UN agency. You're looking at the remains of the UN agency for Palestinian refugees after Israeli forces demolished it and occupied East Jerusalem. Israeli forces raided UNRWA's headquarters on Tuesday morning. The operation was led by Israel's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, who called it a historic day. After the demolition, Israeli flags were raised over the site. Israel had taken control of the site last year and ordered UNRWA to shut down operations and leave its premises. Former UNRWA staff say some of the structures that were destroyed were used to store humanitarian aid for Gaza and the West Bank. UNRWA serves almost 6 million Palestinian refugees. It's also the backbone of humanitarian aid in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. In Gaza, UNRWA provides access to food, shelter, healthcare, and education for over 2 million people, and other aid groups there depend on its distribution networks. In 2024, Israel banned UNRWA from operating in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories. The UN says the demolition violates international law. Critics warn this could go beyond one agency, and that's raising fears that Israel is trying to strip Palestinians of their protected refugee status.
Okay, look at this.
Leaked documents from the U.S. military show a planned community in Gaza described as a panopticon, where Palestinians would be controlled by biometric surveillance. Dropsite News obtained a leaked presentation detailing the plans. In concept, up to 25,000 Palestinians would be placed in a housing block under full Israeli military surveillance called the Emirati Compound. They would be controlled by biometric screenings and checkpoints. They would use electronic currency that could be monitored, and their schools would promote normalization with Israel. A former UN official, John Whittle, told Dropsite News that the compound is designed to contain a new generation of dispossessed Palestinians, effectively screened and corralled into shrinking Israeli-controlled zones in exchange for survival. The UAE is expected to fund the compound, and an anonymous official told The Guardian that the Israeli military has approved the plan. The news came only a week after US President Donald Trump announced the beginning of Phase 2 of the Gaza ceasefire. Israel has continued to bomb Gaza since the ceasefire was announced and has refused to increase the aid coming into Gaza to the amounts Israel agreed to in the ceasefire deal. Leaked documents from the U.S.
Okay. Do you know this guy? He keeps tabs on things. I don't know him too well, but sometimes I see his videos on my screen. Everyone is making videos about it's been 2 years, it's been 2 years. This is his video posted a day ago about how it's been 2 years.
Palestinian village of Ras
Whoa, the audio is really loud. Sorry about that.
Al Ain for the past 2 days now. I've been in the Palestinian village of Ras Al Ain for the past 2 days now. Last night, in the middle of the night, the settlers invaded
So that was 2 years ago, and now it's here. He tries to keep track on settlers. He tries to record them. He tries to like protect people. I think he's Israeli, but he protects Palestinians. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's what the story is.
I'm now sitting on the ruins of the Bedouin tent where I recorded that video almost 2 years ago. This is where my work in the West Bank began. I moved to the village of Ras Al Auja to provide protective presence, and then I just started editing and putting out videos of the daily settler attacks that the community was experiencing. And now, almost 2 years later, Ras Al Auja is done. 2 years of brutal Israeli state terror against the community has led to over 1,000 people now being displaced. Perhaps soon there will be an Israeli settlement in the place of Ras Al Auja, as there are Israeli settlements on top of many Palestinian communities. This is how Israel was built. This is how Tel Aviv was built. It was built on the ruins of the Palestinian village of Manshia. This is the foundation of Israel, the foundation of Zionism. The ethnic cleansing followed by civilian settlement.
Got a super chat, says, thank you, Rise Again, says, I hope history, hold on, oh my God. I hope history will recognize how utterly we have failed the people of Gaza on a basic human level. It's a hard situation not to get doomery about. I think so. I think that's the point. I wish people would try to think like, how am I going to feel about this in 10 years? Because if we look back, and that's literally one thing that's benefited my personal life, is to think like, what is Brittany in 10 years gonna wish she had done 10 years ago? And that's kind of how I gauge, like trying to, think about, because sometimes I think we get stuck in our feelings, we get stuck in our trauma, we get stuck in like information overload, we get triggered PDA. It's like a lot of things can feel overwhelming. But I think if we move into the future and we look back, this will go down as one of the most inhumane tragedies of our time. I think we will feel devastated the way we did not at least voice our concern when possible. It's one thing to feel like your powerlessness, you have no power, you're just like, you have nothing, you have no strength, you have no power, you have no standing in society. And yet I really think like just having a flag in your window, just saying it when people bring it up, just saying Free Palestine, just saying that's devastating, like that genocide is gross, like just saying those things sets into motion your neighbor asking a question, your coworker saying something. Like obviously everyone's in a different situation. You have to also pay your own bills and go to work. Even I myself, every time I talk about Palestine, I get demonetized, and I'm not wealthy enough. I'm not rich enough. I don't have that kind of money. I live paycheck to paycheck like everyone else. I can't make every stream about Palestine. I'll never pay my rent. Like if I made every stream about Palestine, you know what I mean? Like we're talking like $10, right? We're talking about like, if I'm lucky, I'll make $10, off AdSense. So I couldn't do it. But it's dedicating. It's me saying to my partner, hey, I'm going to dedicate this many streams to Palestine. I'm sorry, we're not going to make any revenue. Is that cool? Can we fit it into the budget? That sucks. That sucks that I have to talk to my partner and we have to sit down and look at our finances and I have to say, can I afford to stream about Palestine today? Like that is something we have to sit down and talk about as a family. Because like we still have, our own bills. We still have our own problems, right? We're both like disabled in our own way. We're both working, or I'm working from home. And so like, it is one of those things where like we're doing our best and it's worth it, but it is a part of that process. Or even the fact that I posted my newest podcast, you should go watch it. It's a great podcast, but White Conservatives Are Predators. I even told my partner, like, I'm sorry, like I spent like, I don't know, 30 plus hours on this podcast and I'm going to post it and I'm going to make like $100. I'm sorry. Like, and thank goodness that we can make do. We don't have kids. We don't have those things. But we have to make that decision. Now imagine everybody else who's making it. I am trying to empathize with you. I'm trying to say, I get that you're already struggling to pay groceries and then you want to sit there and risk your job by saying pro-Palestine. I'm saying pick and choose your battles and it will go a long way. Maybe don't say it to your boss. Maybe say it to a neighbor, Maybe say it on a date, on a first date. Just be like, hey, what's your thoughts on ICE? What are your thoughts on Palestine? Like, what are your thoughts on these very important issues? And even if the date only lasts 5 minutes because you brought it up, let it last 5 minutes, Okay, we all have a role to play. All right, look at this video. Let me bring this up. This is Al Jazeera. This is about a family who was impacted by Israel. Israel erased more than 2,700 Palestinian family bloodlines in Gaza, in the Gaza genocide. Erased. 2,700 Palestinian family bloodlines. It's a short video. They just posted it a day ago.
This is Malik, just graduated from high school. He's celebrating with his father, mother, and uncles. For generations, the Najjar family has lived in Khan Yunis, working hard to give their children a good life and a safe home to grow up in. But that future was cut short. Malik was killed in an Israeli airstrike, along with his father, his sister, and 22 members of their extended family. Nisreen, Malik's mother, remembers the moments she returned to what was left of their home.
The first day I went to the site, I imagined them in front of me. The first thing I saw was my son's clothes scattered, blown away by the force of the explosion. I couldn't stay. All the beautiful memories vanished in seconds.
Nisreen tells us that what haunts her most are the final moments she will never know.
Malik, did he scream? The children, did they scream? I imagined every hardship that happened to them as if it were happening in front of me.
This isn't only a story of casualties. This is a story of lineage, heritage, and identity disappearing in an instant. For that to happen, 3 generations of the same household must be wiped out. More than 20 members of a Najjar family were killed that night. Sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, cousins, so many branches gone.
More than 2,700 families were completely erased, with a total of more than 8,000 deaths. About 40,000 families were targeted, which means more than 4 deaths in each family.
When a Palestinian family disappears, they take with them their history, their traditions, their memories, and their future. Names that would have lived on for generations have vanished from Gaza collective identity. Names that define a genocide. Hani Mahmoud, Al Jazeera, from Gaza City, Palestine.
This is why you need to watch Al Jazeera and watch other news stations and just watch everybody. I know everybody has bias, everybody has prejudice. Watch everybody, but add it into your rotation just so you have another view of the things. You know, I get it. Everyone's bought by everybody's bought by everybody. But, you know, I think this is important, you know. The next story I want to show you is by TRT World. This is Turkish news. And this is so devastating, bro. This is awful. It's a video that was posted 6 years ago, and it's called 5 Places to Visit in Gaza. It's a travel video saying 5 places to come see in Gaza. Like any other country would have, like any other place would have. And now none of those places exist.
What's going on, Shababs? We're here about my favorite ornament in the whole city. I love Gaza. Obviously, if you've seen Gaza in the headlines, it's all about wars, a year-long massacre, and a siege. But it's not all doom and gloom here in Gaza. We're spending the day to show you the best 5 things to do and the best 5 places to go while you're here. I'm standing by the beautiful coastline here in the central port of Gaza. Let me show you what you do when you come here.
Look at that. Look how beautiful that is.
So things to do while you're at the port. Well, the first one obviously is to fish. Many people come here in the afternoon, they sit around the rocks and they wait patiently to catch something nice. Others take the boat to enjoy the magnificent landscape of Gaza. And if you look here at a distance is the magical Husayna Mosque. And when the adhan goes, which is the Muslim prayers, there's an amazing sense of tranquility and harmony that presides around the port. And finally, a little cheeky one, most people come here if they want a little romantic date. You bring your date, you take her here by the rocks, and you enjoy some quiet time. تنص المادة 143 من القانون المدني الفلسطيني على إنه This is way too complicated. A law book. We're in the middle of the Islamic University of Gaza, a center of knowledge and power here in this beautiful city. This is called the Jerusalem building outside here. And yeah, so if you want to come have some quiet time, maybe read a book, drink a cup of tea, the Islamic University of Gaza is definitely a place to go. Little observation though, this fountain doesn't work. Please somebody fix the fountain. مين هو؟ عرفنا عليهم. 2 4 6 أبو العابد؟ إيه ده؟ Look at this brother. I know he looks like he's from Norway, but he's Palestinian. أنت منين؟
أنا من فلسطين.
فلسطين؟ طب قول والله.
والله.
والله. قول والله طب.
والله أنا انولدت في النرويج لكن لقيت في فلسطين.
حلو. أنت بتدرس إيه؟
شريعة وقانون.
شريعة وقانون؟
قانون لحال. جيد جدا وامتياز.
امتياز؟
Okay, hold on. That I just want to show you to make sure I got it correct. Hold on. This is 2 minutes. So this here, this mosque here that he showed looks like this is what it looks like now. Based off of what I could find. Yeah, this looks right.
Looks like he's from Norway, but he's Palestinian. أنت منين؟
أنا من فلسطين.
فلسطين؟ طب قول والله. والله. قول والله طب.
والله أنا انولدت في
He
النرويج.
says, I swear, I was born in Norway, but now I am in Palestine.
فلسطين.
حلو.
He said, beautiful, what's your major?
بتدرس إيه؟
شريعة وقانون.
I study Islamic law.
شريعة وقانون؟
قانون لحال. جيد جدا وامتياز.
I have a B+, but this one here has a first class distinction.
امتياز؟ إيه ده؟ He's got a first class distinction, but he doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to.
Come here. The Islamic University is one of the most beautiful and the most amazing universities in the world.
في العالم؟ طب قول لي كده احنا في ناس
He says some people are watching us from Oxford and Cambridge.
بتتفرج علينا من اوكسفورد وكامبريدج بقى، اقول لهم ان الجامعه احلى من
Can you tell them that our university is better than Oxford and Cambridge?
جامعه احلى؟
You beautiful, very very beautiful.
ايوه حبيب قلبي. We're here on the famous olive tree in the Islamic University of Gaza. It's not an olive tree and it's not famous, but we're gonna make it famous, baby. Here, man, I really remember my university days. There's people drawing and leaving little marks and their names on the tree. You know what I mean? So cute. And now, for the Superman move.
Oh, Chet says I have a friend that went to that university. Small world. There you go. It really is, huh?
Gaza, do you love me?
Oh my God, this trend was. Remember when this was a trend?
Are you riding?
See, I hate. It's amazing to me that we can convince people that people are different anywhere. People are all the same everywhere.
We're about to go to the British graveyards. I know some.
They just want to have fun and do memes and have families. And then this is why we have to raise the world in a less bigoted way as we move forward.
Sounds very, very weird, but it's really, really cool. Let's go. Yalla, Yusuf.
Oh wow, this is the cemetery. God knows. Chad said no, hold on. Where is it? Other than veganism, what are some other ways we can eliminate forms of violence in our lives? Bitterness, hatred, making sure you're angry for the world and not at the world. Overconsumption, recycling, making sure that you're contributing to programs that help feed the hungry and or advocate for the people to pay their fair share of tax so nobody has to go hungry in the world, especially in America. What are some other ways? By also accepting you will commit forms of violence. The question is like, how do we harm reduce it? Like, if you talk to vegans, they'll say, because people will say, oh, how many bugs have to die for you to be vegan? It's like, yeah, you can't exist as a person and not contribute bad to the world. You don't get to exist as a person and not contribute bad. But we can work on contributing less bad. And you have to hold both of those things together, you know? Chet says, my boyfriend is Palestinian, but now living in the Nordics. It's so heartbreaking to learn about the stories he and his family have of their past lives in Gaza. Must be devastating. It must be devastating. I know here in Croatia, we are taking in Palestinian refugees. I've seen families. We have some mosques here. We have some people here. We're also, as a government, our current president has come out in favor of Palestine. And that's really nice. Like, it's really weird to be living in a country that is pro-Palestine while having come from a country that is supporting Israel. It's like it feels weird. But Croatia is imperfect in of itself. Like, I think our former president was a fan of Trump's. And she was a woman, and then this one is anti. So it's just very interesting, the whole thing of it. But having people who know, the whole point is to humanize. The whole point is to remember these people are just regular people. That's why that myth that America keeps promoting, and the myth Israel keeps promoting, that if these people had weapons, they would have killed Israelis. Like as if it's special to Palestinians, as if we have any evidence of this. We have no evidence that Palestinians had the same military power or same presence in the world that they would do anything to anybody. Plenty of countries have nukes, and plenty of other countries they don't. It's just so American. This is, conservatives do this too. Conservatives go, if LGBT people had their way, they would keep us from being Christian. No, we wouldn't. We don't care if you're Christian. I mean, we care like on a personal level, but we don't really care like legally if you're Christian. That's the thing. That's like, that fear is because they know they do it to others. Again, it's that fear of, I'm going to punch you before you punch me. But like, I was never going to punch you, bro. I was never going to punch you.
Welcome to the Gaza War Cemetery. So the story here is that basically British officers who died in World War I, or the Great War as it's referred to, from 1914 to 1918 are buried over here. So actually most of the tombstones here specify the number, rank and name of the soldier who died. So it says here 203908, Private J.T. Brindon, Norfolk Regiment, 2nd November 1917. Now it's not only British soldiers who were buried here, but also members of the Allied forces who fought together in the war. The British government actually owns this land and pays the officials that take care of these graveyards. But a very cool fact about this that sort of reflects the cool history of Palestine is that it's not only Allied forces who are buried here, but also Egyptian and Ottoman soldiers who fought against the Allies. Let me show you, because they're buried in a separate place at the distance. Now this section is very different than the one we just saw, because everyone here is buried as a group. If you look, it says, to the honor of the following men of the Egyptian Labor Corps who are buried near the spot. 184 soldiers of the Turkish army whose names are unknown. Which is crazy, right? Because it's the same dates, 1914 to 1918. It's the same cemetery, but it's a completely different story. Almost opposite sides of the same coin. So this cemetery is close to a very densely populated area. So many Gazans, when you see them roaming around, are just here to find some peace and quiet. And it's actually my first time visiting here, and it's been a very educating experience. But what I can say is, say no to colonialism, sire. Arab money. Arab.
This guy and his memes, bro.
Money. Obviously, I'm not Busta Rhymes. We don't have Arab money. We're not in Dubai, but we're in the golden market of Gaza, where you come here to get your bling bling and look fresh. Let's come and see. We're standing out of Yes's Gold Shop, a very old shop here in the Golden Market. We're gonna go inside, speak to the owner, and see what he says about the stuff.
I just don't know how many of these people are still alive. I think that's what's so sad. Is this guy even still alive? Like, you know what I mean? Like, every person that we might see in this video, we don't even know if they're still here.
ياسر حبوب.
ياسر حبوب
تاجر ذهب.
تاجر دهب، اهلا وسهلا بيك.
يا هلا بيك.
ربنا يخليك. انت طب ممكن تقول لنا بقى
Can you
ايه
please show us what you have in the shop?
احنا طبعا ما انت عارف.
You are in a gold shop. We have gold jewelry.
هيبيع ذهب.
If you want to get married,
هتاخد شبكة زي دي.
تمام.
هتاخد صورة مثلا.
you would buy a set like this.
تمام.
هتاخد خاتم مثلا.
Or bracelet like this. Or maybe rings like this.
حاجات زي كده بس. يعني ممكن.
جميلة دي جميلة. Very nice, man.
Very nice.
مش للرجالة.
لا العروسة.
But it's not for men.
بس كده ادعي لنا كده نتجوز.
انت
Please pray for us to get married. He said, are you still
أنا لسه مش
single?
متجوز لا لسه مش متأهل يعني
لا لا متأهل.
He said, aren't you ready? He said, I am, but I need some cash.
بص انا بنوي بس انت فاهم يعني
والله نيتك
محتاجين
صعبة.
دولارات.
He said, you're in a very difficult situation.
والله صعبة نيتي.
صعبة نيتي؟ حبيبي يا حاج ادعي لنا انت بس يا حاج.
ربنا ياخد
Thank you. Please pray for me.
حبيبي
المهم تكون عندك
God help
يعني الأمور ماشية كويس.
الامور ماشية يعني فلوس.
He said, you're going to be ready. He said, you mean I should have money?
لا الناحية
لا الناحية التانية.
No, you should be ready in a different way.
لا كله ماشي. So, if you're looking to come and buy something for your love partner, spend that Arab money. Come Yasser Haboub's place. He has everything that you need. Like you see here, beautiful necklaces, beautiful rings, chains, everything that you want.
أهلا وسهلا.
Nice to meet
So
you.
it's
My
around
pleasure.
5 o'clock here. This is it from the Golden Alleyway in Gaza. We showed you some of the stuff, showed you the nicest shop in the street, and now we're gonna take you to an amazing place with an amazing view to finish off the day. Like I promised, a beautiful place with a beautiful view. And the tree that I'm sitting on, for real now, is actually the most famous tree in the whole of Gaza. This is the Tell al-Muntar area. From here, you can see all of the city. And if you stand over there, you can even see the sea and Israel on the other side. Now it's getting a bit chilly, so it's coming to an end of a beautiful day here in Gaza. Of course, there's many more places to go and many more things to do. We picked our favorite 5. Let us know what your favorite 5 places are. And like my boss says, it's time for me to be quiet now and show you some drone things.
Okay. Okay. 6 years ago, his aerial view, right? Oops. 6 years ago, his aerial view. Okay. October. This video has no sound. Same place. This is Sky News. Yeah. Oh, I wonder. I don't know what this body of water is. Is this the port or is this something different? I don't know. Like, where's the justification of this, you know? Like, imagine how much cognitive dissonance you have to even support this or tolerate this, or it's just devastating. It really is. Humans are so capable of doing so many amazing things, like truly amazing, and then we do this. You're one time on Earth, you know? Like, you're one time on Earth, and you're like, I know what to do. Let's do this. Can you even imagine? And you wonder why people want to go back, as if there's not memories, there's not smells, there's not things they recognize, as if this isn't where they were born. Oh, devastating. Just absolutely devastating, you know? Man, this goes on for 10 minutes. Jesus Christ. It's a drone flying through. God, that's sad. Like, imagine, you know how America does this thing where we have these apocalyptic movies and we see New York underwater and we see like our cities, we recognize LA, the Hollywood sign, and it's like been destroyed by zombies. Yeah, this is somebody's real life though. That's just a movie. This is somebody's real life. This is the same, only this is real for them. They're going, oh, I recognize this building. I know this street. I know this body of water. Oh, I know this. I was here. And I understand that's why 9/11 was so hard for Americans, because we're so privileged we never have to experience this. But imagine us having 9/11 done to us and that we turn around and do this to everybody fucking else. That's what I'm saying. That's why Hassan said, like, America deserved 9/11, not because anyone deserves to have anything bad like this happen, but to say that it didn't just happen. out of nowhere. It's a consequence of the way we interfere with people, the way we push people into corners. It's not to say any of us deserve this. No one deserves pain. No one deserves any of this. It's to say, and he did it in a very bad way. He could have said it better, as we all can say things better. You know, I said something very similar like 10 years ago, except I said basically like it's overrated. Like you're doing too much. Okay? Not because people don't deserve to cry over 9/11, but because you don't get to cry over 9/11 and not understand why Palestinians are crying over this. Right? That's why it's frustrating. It's like I always cry over 9/11 footage. Always. I also cry over Palestinian footage. And the fact that you can cry over 9/11 but not Palestine is the problem. All of it is devastating. And the fact is that you're pretending that like this is just how life is. Well, that's just how life is, I guess. No. This is how we let life be. Okay, I'm going to put this guy's video in this is from TRT, like I said, but this video from 6 years ago, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat. You know, look at the description for this video. Despite 3 wars, thousands of killings, and a 12-year-long Israeli siege, Palestinians in Gaza have found a way to smile at life. Then look at it now. Look at it now. Look at it now. Look at it now. It's just devastating. Devastating. And, you know, this is why I say to you, even if you think you're right, be careful of your eagerness to cause damage. Be careful of your justification in violence. Be careful of how proud you are over hurting others, even yourself. Okay? Because, again, I really do believe most people think they're doing the right thing, which should tell you how easy it is to be evil if most of us think we're doing the right thing. Okay? Look at this. I was looking up stories about Sudan because I wanted updates on like what's happening. And just to give us some updates. First, let's do this. Here are some recent-ish. This is from August of last year, and then this is from this month here. Just like some thoughts on Sudan, and then I want to take you through these little things that I found. Look at this.
I don't think Sudan's been talked about enough because I think African pain and African suffering has been normalized. When people think Africa, they do think war, they think famine, they think starvation. So it's almost like, oh, this is normal for them when it really, really shouldn't be. I think people are desensitized to what's happening in Africa because it's been happening for years and years and years. And I think that politicians are purposely ignoring it. This isn't normal for us, this isn't normal for anyone, and people shouldn't be desensitized for the pain and suffering of African people.
Okay, so desensitized is the key word here because we are. Now, I also want you to have a balance in this. We're desensitized from the violence, and on the other side of it, you can't take on the burden of the world suffering as a singular person. This is why we rely on the collective. We mourn as a collective, we fight as a collective, we process as a collective, and then you can go singular processing on your own. But the reality is that sometimes I think you get stuck in a loop, which we all do. I've done it too, where you consume solo, you process solo, you cry solo, you witness solo, you nightmare solo, and then all of a sudden it's overwhelming and you're like, I should take myself out. How many people here, you don't have to actually say, have ever thought about taking your own life because of the way the world is? You're like, this is too much. I don't want to be here. Right? That feeling is so fair. I want you to get to the other side of it. Right? I want you to get to the other side that you do have a place here. You have a purpose here. That purpose is subjective, but it's still meaningful. Yeah, I don't believe in a God. And yeah, I don't think you have a higher purpose. And yet I think you have a calling. I think you have something about you as a consciousness that is unique, that is in so many ways important and valuable. And I want you to get on the other side of that hopeless feeling. And I want you to instead ground yourself in a knowing that peaceful times come and go, but the world will always be suffering. So know the role you're playing. Okay? Know the role you'll play. You can't always be on the front lines, but you can say something about it. Okay? You can't always donate the money, but you can raise money. You can't always, offer your own house as a place to be, but you can support other places getting built. Like, you can't always even speak your mind, but you can show up in different ways. Okay? Look at this video is from January.
Allied militias. The Al Fasher massacre in Sudan last October really drew the world.
And anything that I'm sharing, guys, and you're like, oh no, this is misinformation. Because the thing is about Palestine, I know a little bit more about it, so I can kind of tell when I'm like seeing misinformation. With Sudan, it is a little different for me. I'm not as educated because, like, once again, I don't think I have the. We can only learn so much at a time. I don't have the brain capacity to be an expert on Sudan or to understand it in detail. So if you see anything I'm showing that you're like, Brittany, this is a bad source, please let me know. Or if it's misinformation, please let me know.
Attention to the conflict. Can you just tell us what happened as far as we know?
Well, before the genocidal violence, I think is probably the best way to put it, took place, committed by the Rapid Support Forces and allied militias on the 26th of October, the UN had estimated that around 260,000 people, half of whom, 130,000 children, lived in Al Fasher city and the surrounding areas. Now we're seeing figures of people inside Al Fasher that are vastly fewer than that figure, but we don't know what the actual figure is. And so there's a bit of a grim exercise of arithmetic right now where different aid organizations, the Yale Observatory, which tracks these things from space, is trying to figure out exactly how many people have died. But I think 100,000 people killed by the RSF sounds about right, considering the number of people. Now, what we've seen is evidence of atrocity from the 26th onwards for about a few weeks. And much of that is actually from the RSF themselves. They have relied on a culture of impunity almost through their entire existence. And as a result of that, we saw much of the violence that they committed from their own videos, from their own live feeds that they then posted on social media. And through that, we're able to get a sense just of how callous a lot of their actions were and how targeted some of them were.
Okay, really fast, a couple of things. Chat, you're saying, Britt, I'd love for you to make a podcast about this. Are you saying because the streams are too long, you can't share them with people because you don't think people will watch? But if it's a podcast that's like 30 to 40 minutes, they'll watch it. Is that what you're saying? Like, you want me to talk, like, stream is long form content, obviously. So you're saying make it a podcast. And you're saying, okay, you're saying like know your role. Okay, I can put it on the list of things that I'll see if I can figure out how to make a short form pod about. Let me see, podcast about knowing your role. Is that what you're saying? And how you impact others? And how, like, is that what you're saying, that podcast? Okay, let's go here. This is 5 days ago, posted Middle East Eye.
He said, Khaled, it's so dangerous for me to be filming. It's easier for me to have a gun than to have a camera.
In the case of Gaza and the genocide in Gaza, what really helped inform the public on what's happening on the ground is the videos that were being taken and uploaded by the Palestinian journalists in Gaza, right? But we're not seeing the same amount of footage come out of Sudan as we have been seeing from Gaza, for example.
I mean, you know, the difference is, one, that is Gazans and Palestinians as a whole, they were trained for this. They were ready for this for a very long time. And this is what they do, right? They've always been independent journalism. There's always been, you know, they understand the importance of being a voice in social media and filming and all of that, because this is the only way out for them, right? For us, we didn't really understand that. We didn't have that. And, you know, with al-Bashir in power for the last 30 years, it really took a reckoning at journalism in Sudan. There's amazing, brave journalists in Sudan. They're trying to do their job the best they can, even after this war, like Hiba Morgan from Al Jazeera or Hassan from Al Hadath and so on. And even the journalist who's still actually in captivity until today after he was caught in Al Fasher. So we don't know also what happened to him. But what happened in Sudan was that, you know, I have a friend of mine that at the beginning of the war, maybe like 6 months in or something, I was talking to him and I was like, hey man, you know, we need as much films coming out of Sudan, as much footage coming out of Sudan, because we need to, you know, show the world what's going on. And he said, Khalid, it's so dangerous for me to be filming. It's easier for me to have a gun than to have a camera.
Wow. Can
Yeah.
we unpack that, Khalid? That is a very powerful statement. So what does he exactly mean by that? As in, he will be hunted for having a camera?
Absolutely. He will be targeted. He will be hunted for having a camera, even on your phone, right? Because this is how most people film. Because, you know, the first thing the RSF would do will take your phone. They will jack your phone. They will steal your phone. And they will, of course, you know, beat you up and all of that stuff. And for the army, if you have a phone or if you put your phone up, then maybe you're a spy. So in both sides, you're in danger, actually, if you're taking photos or if you're taking videos and so on. So that's why most of the footage that comes out is actually from soldiers, because no one else can actually do anything else. He said, Khalid.
Ugh, that's so overwhelming to think about. It is so overwhelming to think about that. Easier to have a gun than a camera. Oh, this is Middle East Eye. I'll put for those asking more details about this. This is Middle East Eye. So I follow AJ Plus, Middle East Eye, Al Jazeera. I try to follow, you know, I mean, they naturally come up on my feed as well. But I just try to follow as many other news organizations as I can, because even if it's not about trusting one or the other, but it is about getting the clearest picture based off of everyone's data and then trying to figure out like what's happening. So I went ahead and linked that. You guys can check that out. Okay, so check this out. This came out. This is ABC News, but this came out 11 days ago. Okay. So it says, is Sudan facing the world's worst humanitarian crisis? Which is what is so devastating about the situation. We're talking millions and millions and millions of people.
Back, everyone. It's currently the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. Millions of people displaced, tens of thousands killed. But with so much focus on Ukraine, Gaza, and Iran, many don't know the horrors playing out.
Okay, and then on top of that, so, okay, lock in with me, because I know. Everything's horrible in the world. Everything's horrible, and I still have to get home and work and pay my Netflix bill. And I still have to pay my phone bill. And I still want to live my life. And I still want to drink juice. And I still want to make a PBJ for my kids. And I still want to get them the cool, whatever, anime bed sheet set. And so your life is hard. Then you have that relationship with your family that's hard. And then you have to tell the whole family your dad molested you when you were a kid, or your brothers, whatever, or your sisters did this. And, you know, you have all these problems. And the problems get worse, and then it gets worse, and then you realize, like, oh my God, it's problems. But then if you zoom out far enough, you're also just like a dot in space. You know? You know, if you zoom out far enough, you really are just like a dot in space. So, okay, hold on, breathe again. And dive back in again. Dive back into planet Earth. And when it gets too bad, woo, breathe out again, breathe out, and dive back in. And this is what it means to be a person on the planet. It means to hold both truths in your hand. One, everything is hard and it's a lot. And if you zoom out, you can't even see us, bro. We're not even identifiable. We come, we go, we're alive one day, we're dead the next. Thus is life. It's about having a deeper relationship with the fact that you exist in the first place. And remember, a lot of us go way back in history to how we came to be. And for some people, that's God. And for some people, that's aliens. And for some people, we're just like a biological creature evolved over millions of years. But what we really are is we are. I am. Who am? That's a little Christian joke. Okay. We are. And that in and of itself, like, we are. And then you kind of feel that, and you feel like the pain of that, like the, oh my God, like I exist. And then it kind of makes it hard to breathe a little bit, because like, oh my God, I exist. And then it's like, oh my God, like, why am I here and somebody else isn't here? Like, why me? Or like, what am I even doing with my life? Okay. And then you zoom out again. This me, this I that is so heavy and so important. Everyone's feeling that. Everybody is that. So then you zoom out again. Okay, come back into it. Zoom out of it, because don't get so wrapped up in the ego that you're like, I exist, I exist, I exist. Stop saying I. We exist. We exist. We all exist. And everybody is just as important as that feeling you have of the eye. That eye you feel that's so heavy, that is the we. And so you have to zoom in and zoom out and zoom in and zoom out. Take a breath, come back in. Like you're in a pool and you go underwater, you hold your breath and it gets too much, come out for air and dive back in. Come out for air, dive back in. It gets easier as you keep doing it. And then eventually, when you get there, when your practice gets there, when you can meditate and focus and live in the most present, it will feel like you're breathing underwater. It will feel like you're breathing underwater, which is what many of these people are going through themselves. They themselves understand the process, and they usually give it to God. It's kind of like the way they do it, but like you learn to breathe underwater. And that's what you're trying to do. So it no longer feels crushing, but you will have moments. But the everyday moment doesn't feel, but it will feel. You're not coping, you're not desensitizing, you're not cutting yourself off. You're becoming like you're moving in harmony with the reality of your existence. And then when you're as stable as you can get, when you introspect as much as you can, when you do meditative work, I really do believe the most introspective people, the more introspective you are, the less bigoted you will be, the less cruel you will become. It's just that people kind of stop, and that's the problem is like we naturally stop. And I'm saying, don't stop. Okay, don't stop. Every single one of us could become a bigoted or are bigoted or could stay bigoted. If you want to work on your bigotry that ends up creating this scenario, because that's what that is, okay, you have to constantly be growing, or you will be that old boomer who doesn't, care about young people or what new people are doing. And you'll, start being angry at new terminology and new clothes and new ways of doing things, instead of recognizing that old must share with the young and young must share with the old, and we must work in harmony. Okay? So you have to keep yourself focused because everything is happening all at once. Your kid needs to go to school on time, and you need to make it a science project for school, and children are being genocided in Gaza. Both of those things are happening at once, and they always have been and always will be. So, okay.
Inside of Sudan, it's difficult to get information, but the U.S. says genocide is taking place, harkening back to dark days of decades ago. In tonight's Prime Focus, Ian Pannell and our team have spent months hearing from people on the ground and piecing together some of the atrocities playing out. And tonight, as this conflict has now passed 1,000 days of fighting, we listen to the women caught in the crosshairs of a war they did not ask for.
Imagine that your entire city of 1 million people completely shut off from the rest of the world. No one is allowed out. No food or water or supplies like medicine are allowed in. And you're dealing with bomb strikes.
Hold on, I gotta read the subtitles.
And you're dealing with bomb strikes.
I kept looking for my son, hoping I would find him, but I couldn't. Wherever I asked, they told me he might be. They told me. Hold on, let me see. Move quickly. They told me he might be among the dead.
It's a country tragically familiar with the brutality of man, and far from the eyes of the world, harrowing accounts of what the US government now calls a new genocide in Sudan. Civilians once again trapped between two warring sides, a conflict between the rebel group known as the RSF and the Sudanese military, raging for over 1,000 days. In late October of 2025, videos exposed gruesome mass killings by the RSF in Sudan's Darfur region.
Little bodies.
Videos exposed gruesome mass killings by the RSF in Sudan's Darfur region. It's been the world's worst humanitarian crisis for the last 2 years. More than 30 million desperately need help. And yet this is a crisis largely out of sight, out of mind. A darkness has descended on El Fasher, a city cut off from the outside world. The IRC estimating nearly 250,000 people trapped inside. The rebel RSF accused of carrying out door-to-door massacres. The crimes committed visible from space. ABC's visual verification team has documented 48 hours of hell posted online by gloating RSF fighters. At El Fasher University, where civilians sought refuge, armed RSF rebels walk into the halls, filled with bodies, posting these graphic videos of their attacks, evidence of a massacre broadcast to the world. And this is what happened when civilians tried to flee the city. Satellite images show a cluster of objects visible by a berm built by the RSF. Verified video on the scene shows its dozens of charred vehicles and lifeless bodies, the militants celebrating the aftermath of a slaughter. According to the UN Refugee Agency, more than 12 million people in Sudan have fled their homes.
12 million. 12 million. 12 million. Chaz says, I wonder why we move more towards greed and power. Is it just a given in society, or could it have been different, or was it always going to be this way? Humans are going to human is a saying on this channel. We are what we are, but we aren't always what we end up being. Humans can be more than they are, but they can be different than what they think they're capable of, right? It's a holding on to those two contradicting thoughts, right? The things that sound like, what are you saying? I truly believe, and this is my contribution to the world. Maybe it means something, maybe it doesn't. But what the levels are supposed to represent is a call to action that says it is better to have a deeper relationship with your biological experience and a hope and an aim to be less bigoted and less hateful than it is to ignore it and just settle for bigotry. I really believe, this is my own personal belief, that we are so much more capable, but it is very hard to be a good person. I think it is so hard to be a good person. And I think it is constantly within our nature to have a battle within ourselves individually and then as the collective. So remember, I believe the collective is a reflection of the individual back to itself. So like we are a reflection of the world as a whole. I am a reflection of the collective as a whole. That's why they talk about collective consciousness, but like we have to actually fight ourselves and have a better relationship with self and then a better relationship with everything outside of self. But think about all the men you've dated, all the girls you've dated, all the fathers you've had, all the family members you've had who just won't get it together. They won't work on themselves. They won't deconstruct their bigotry. I mean, we're having layers of conversations. And then around that, we have all of these people who are like, hey, I'm going to exploit people's vulnerabilities and the fact that they're desperate to get rich. And those people used to be babies. Some little baby is being born into the universe right now, and that baby is going to one day grow up to be a dictator, a mass murderer, a rapist, a billionaire who at the expense of everybody else will become rich, right? There is a child being born every day who will be just someone's nightmare. The responsibility of bringing a human being into the world is so real. And yet it is the most casual thing we do as a species. It's so casual. And I'm saying we need to rework first, bringing life into the universe. Then we need to ask ourselves not to be anti-natalist. I don't think the answer is anti-natalism, because I think, again, in a perfect kind of sort of perfect, not perfect world, there will always be beauty in bringing a child into the universe because that child is a real consciousness. That's a real person. There's beauty in that. I don't subscribe to like anti-natalism. What I subscribe to is a sense of moral decency and responsibility that isn't Republican coded, isn't a dog whistle, that actually starts with the dignity of human life, the dignity of all life, and says, how do we show dignity to life while understanding we live in a cycle of it? How do we, understand there is a cycle to life, things live and die, and there's a dignity to the fact that it exists. When I was a nanny, I would, the babies they were young, 6 months to 2 years usually. It was my baby age usually. And I remember one of my babies, he was just learning to walk and he was walking on the sidewalk and he kicked a flower. And I said, hold up. I said, this flower is a living thing. And yes, there are circumstances in which this flower is picked and you're giving it to someone as a gift, or you put it in a vase, or you put it on food, or there's a lot of uses for flowers. You could use it in art. You can use it in all kinds of ways, but we do not kick it. We show dignity to plant life as well, right? Because how you treat something matters. And I understand everybody has an argument for like, well, picking them is bad and this is bad. It's about harm reduction, okay? It's about doing less of the harm. It's not about being perfect. It's about the way you treat things should matter. The way you treat your homes, the way you treat people, the way you treat flowers, because all of that can feel like an extension to how you treat other things. So start with something as simple as a flower and extend it out. That's the idea. That's why we are frustrated about men as a system, not men as people. Men as people are victims of patriarchy. Men as a system are dangerous to everybody, even men. Okay? So we have to have a relationship with this reality that we are moving people towards and away from despair, away from bigotry, away from hatefulness, but you have to start with like, what is this individual's problem? And then, because sometimes, if you have a family dynamic where you're working on yourself and then you see like your siblings or your family members or your neighbors and no one's working on themselves, it can feel lonely. I saw chats earlier say like it can feel lonely. Loneliness is something I used to feel all of the time. Until I got right with me. Once I was right with me, the loneliness went away. And this loneliness epidemic is a cry for help. It's not about dating people or having friends or any of those things. It is about a crisis of self. And of course, once you get right with yourself, it's much easier to build community. Because the truth is I would probably feel pretty fucking lonely if I didn't have a community. But I certainly wouldn't be able to maintain and have a healthy community if I didn't have a relationship with self. You have to have both. Okay? So when we have these conversations, right? Chat says, I'm often told recycling doesn't help when the landfills don't utilize the separation correctly. I'd rather try than throw more plastic into trash and ocean. That might be true. It all ends up in landfills. But a big part of recycling isn't just putting things in bins. It's also reusing glasses. It's buying a mason jar that was PB&J and using it as a drinking glass. It's not buying new dishes every season. Recycling is also using hand-me-downs. It's using clothes until they absolutely become floor rags. It's, recycling doesn't just have to be putting things in the proper bin. It can be the way we utilize the items we already have. There's a lot of ways to recycle, right? But yeah, every single piece of thing you own will end up at a landfill. Landfill. I just can't. Yeah, everything you ever own or ever buy will end up somewhere on planet Earth. Somewhere on planet Earth, it never goes away. It takes a long time for these things to, quote, go away,
Jamila Ismail, who's a mother of 7, fled El Fasher with her children. Her son shot during the chaos.
Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. He underwent surgery and it was successful.
Aid groups are at a loss, struggling to fund and access the most basic resources. 26-year-old Heba Aladdin is helping people who were displaced when the violence broke out, despite having to flee from another part of Sudan that was attacked. She's now working from a mobile clinic with the Sudan Family Planning Association.
Today we are in Al Afad camp in a Dabba state, which people from Al Fasher have been in displacement here in this camp. Through our mobile clinic, we are providing reproductive health and gender-based violence services.
But due to internet blackouts, she was only able to send us these voice messages explaining what her life has been like since.
The needs in the camp are growing every day. Life has been difficult. I have seen families fleeing in fear, mothers holding their children with nothing in their hands. I hear the stories of loss, pain, and uncertainty, and I feel the deep responsibility to stand with them.
Wait, what did she say right here?
In fear, mothers holding their children with nothing in their hands.
Mothers holding their children with nothing in their hands? Does she mean like the babies were like phantom babies or nothing but their children in their hands? Either way, I'm devastated.
I hear the stories of loss, pain, and uncertainty, and I feel the deep responsibility to stand with them.
The tragedy for Sudan is that this is history repeating itself.
As many as 300,000 people have died in Darfur.
This is 2009.
More than 2.5 million homeless.
2 decades ago, the word Darfur echoed across the world.
Some human rights groups are calling what's happening here ethnic cleansing.
A similar.
And look, at the end of the day, men with guns is a sentiment of patriarchy. Why are these groups of men feeling so entitled and inclined to uprooting people? Why is it always groups of men? Why is it always groups of men? Why is it always groups of men? Why is it always men? There's something there. And the fact that everyone keeps ignoring it is the problem. It's always groups of men kidnapping school kids, always groups of men attacking groups of women, always groups of men killing boys. It's always groups of men. And I don't think it's because they were born men. Okay? I'm giving you an out. I'm saying you are not destined to be this. You have options, but it comes from a world that is informed by violence, a world that is convinced violence is the only answer. That kindness and compassion are considered weaknesses. And we see this from the US government. We see this from Trump and Elon and all those people. Why is it always groups of men?
Scenes unfolded. Up to 2 million deaths, a million more displaced, sparking global outrage.
In my country, wars have ended, but peace has never come.
Emi Mahmoud is a Sudanese-American poet born and raised in Darfur. She uses her pen to raise awareness around the world of what her life was like in Sudan.
And the last time we went home, we watched our village burn. Soldiers pouring blood from civilian skulls as if they too could turn water into wine.
When's the last time you were back in Sudan?
2018 December, when the revolution started. My hometown, Al-Fashir, and Darfur, is a continuation of the Darfur genocide. What's so ironic about all of this is that we're experiencing genocide and living in poverty, and yet we're sitting on some of the largest gold reserves in the entire world, and that's what the fight is about. Two warring parties funded by so many world powers.
The US State Department has said both sides are committing war crimes and that the RSF is committing genocide.
When you're in a conflict, often the rules of war get tossed out the window, and things are done in silence.
Dr. Tom Katina works in the Nuba Mountains in Sudan, opening up his own hospital in 2008, which was nearly bombed decades ago.
We really are just all living such different lives. And that's why I say to Americans, like, we are struggling and our pain is so valid. And also, like, everyone's just struggling differently and everything is so specific. Like, even being this doctor, just to be a doctor in America that's driving like a Bentley versus a doctor who's dedicating their life to these humanitarian efforts. Not everyone can do the same thing, but I think this goes back to your lived life. What do you embody as your values? Even if you're in America, like, do you need to be driving a Bentley? Like, do you need to be driving a Bugatti? Like, do you have to go buy, the most expensive clothes or, clothes that are, made unethically? Or if you have all the money in the world, why you spend more money to pay a seamstress local in your neighborhood to make you clothes? It's like, imagine being worth millions and not paying a local to make you clothes. Like, imagine, not paying somebody a fair wage who does this for a living, who's dying for customers or makes their own clothes. Like, imagine going to a store that's like, you know what I mean? It's like you would think that rich people would use their privilege to buy ethically sourced items instead of, just continuing to buy. It's just kind of crazy. But it seems to be, again, an individual has to go through the process of choosing how to exist. And then that individual, again, has to live by example, and then that individual hopefully inspires, and then maybe other people do different, but it should be embodied. I think it's why people are suspicious of people that are preaching things they don't practice, which you should be. You should be fucking so suspicious of people who don't preach what they practice. But you should also give people the chance to tell you it won't be perfect. So again, I think that's the problem, is like, I will never make a prescription to you because I think at the end of the day, I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to tell you not to rape people. I shouldn't have to tell you to value life. I shouldn't have to tell you this is wrong. So I won't tell you these things are wrong in that way. I won't make a prescription, right? I will just say, to the best of your ability, I would like you to walk the walk and embody your beliefs and act accordingly, to the best of your ability, to the best of your ability, the best of your ability,
The feeling is one of just intense fear. I think there's no other way to describe it. Here it comes.
And he believes his community was targeted again, sending us this update after he returned home.
There was a drone strike in our local area a few miles from here. A couple weeks ago, there were about over 40 fatalities. So we're standing by and ready for whatever comes our way. This is how wars are. If you target a hospital, imagine the demoralizing effect that has on those people. One of the main problems in Sudan and all of rural Africa is access to health care.
Back in those aid camps, the stark reality of war is taking its toll.
She said they show no humanity. They did not consider that I am a pregnant woman.
Nadra Ahmed is one of over 140 pregnant women at the Al-Daba camps in northern Sudan, walking 25 miles through RSF strongholds with her children.
Remember that not all of the pregnant people were consensually impregnated. And though some people will consensually choose to be pregnant in times of war, sometimes the only way for people to feel human again is to make love to the people they trust as well. And so I know there's going to be judgment in people's minds of like, why are you having a baby right now? There's a reason people make babies in times of crisis. And I asked this of my own family when they tell us their horror stories of living in Iraq. And I'm like, if it was so bad, why'd you make babies? And a big part of it is that the only silver lining in all of the chaos is making love sometimes. And that's just so human, you know?
Was 7 months pregnant, fleeing El Fasher days prior to the attacks.
She said, I was pregnant with this child when I passed the RSF. And I was exhausted beyond imagination. And I was carrying a child on my back and another inside me. And they beat me on my leg.
Despite attempts to broker a peace deal, today, 1,000 days since it began, the fighting continues.
Sudan Baladi means Sudan is my home. There's still hope, because if our families on the ground who are surviving are not losing hope, I don't have a right to lose hope.
Do you see the same message we saw yesterday? If our families on the ground aren't losing hope, we don't have the right to lose hope, right? It's the same when maybe Sarah McBride wasn't the greatest person to give this message, but it's the same message. If our ancestors did this, if the people who came before us did this, then we certainly can too. Because we are living in a very privileged position, a lot of us. And so don't lose hope. Feel inspired by the strength of humanity as it overcomes time and time again, as it somehow, in some way, we continue forward. Time and time and time and time again. Time again. Kind of amazing, really. It is. It really is kind of like inspirational, the way we fucking manage. And at the same time, it would be really nice if we didn't have to be inspiring all the time and we didn't have to hope all the time. We didn't have to always be some person's inspirational porn. It'd be really nice if minority people didn't always have to be in that position, you know? So again, I really think the future is less violent. The future is less bigoted. The future is more meditation, more self-reflection, more genuine desire to grow. And I think the future is one where we don't, punish people, but we give people an opportunity to make amends. And I think it's really hard to be a good person. It's really, really, really hard to be a good person. I really believe that. And so it can allow me a chance to be a little bit more patient with people, even though God knows I'm not a patient lady. Okay, I pray to the universe every day, make me more patient because God knows I'm about to swing. Okay? And this is my meditation to myself. I asked the universe, moving into 2025, I said, make me more patient. Give me your greatest challenges so I can test my patience. And it has been testing me, and it will test me forever, and that's the point. The point is that I know that I am just living history, that I didn't get to be, I didn't get to choose to be here, but I'm certainly choosing to stay. I made that decision when I was 30, to not kill myself, to not despair, and so I will stay, and I will do my best, and then I will die, and somebody else will do that too. That's what it is. That's what life is. Not too bad. Pretty hard, but not too bad. I'm going to leave you on a funny note to kind of break the ice. Okay? We've been talking about reading, supporting local libraries, supporting local bookstores. We want to encourage people to enjoy life, to find the beauty in existence again, to do all those things. Okay? So I leave you with this. Okay? From New York.
Mamdani says he stays at home and listens to steamy romance books. New Yorkers listen. This is what he said over the weekend.
Our public libraries offer a free access to Heated Rivalry on ebook or audiobook for anyone with a library card.
The New York Public Library says after that news conference, downloads for Heated Rivalry skyrocketed by exactly how much? 529%. The library says once they introduced immediate access, people on the wait list downloaded the book immediately. As of this morning, the library says it had more than 17,000 downloads for the Game Changer series, and it's only climbing and getting hotter. Well, it turns out when Mayor Mom.
So you know, girls, you know. I see you. I see you. You little fucking horny bitches. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Enjoy your little fucking McSteamy books, okay? Enjoy your little fucking gay romances. Okay? Don't objectify gay people, though. But, you know, you enjoy your little hockey books, you know? You enjoy it. Humanize people while you enjoy it, you know? Chad says, I downloaded Twilight for the storm. Let me tell you, I've been watching, there's this girl on TikTok who films her friend, boyfriend, somebody watching the Twilight movies, and it's so funny. People watching Twilight for the first time is my favorite thing in the world. I have been begging my partner, please let me show you Twilight. It's so good. It's so bad. Oh, do you want to know? Okay, not only did I read Twilight in high school and people made fun of me, and of course then I went, you know, famous. Not only was I in every opening show for that movie, but my friend and I drove to Forks, Washington, because we lived in Washington, and did the Twilight tour. You know, it's the little things in life, girls. Anyways, all of that to say, Twilight is such shit, but I will never not have good memories being a Twilight girly. And even reading Midnight Sun, yeah, I read that shit too. Honestly, no regrets. What a time. What a time. Chad says we should watch it on the Discord. Yeah, maybe. We should watch it as a community. It's so bad. It's, you know what's even worse? Oh my God. I tried watching, I think with my sister, one of my siblings. I was like, let's try to watch 50 Shades of Grey so you know how bad it is. We couldn't even get through. It was so painful. It was a physically painful experience. I watched it initially when it came out because, of course, I was a BDSM educator at the time and I was making content about how bad it was. It's so bad. And that was a fan fiction. Remember that without Twilight, we never would have had 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey was originally a fan fiction of Edward and Bella. And then she got a book deal and she changed the names to whatever, Christian, Anastasian, whatever. Never forget. Never forget. Okay? Yeah, chat. If you didn't know that already, yep. Now you know. The more you know. You know? That's what I say. There's no original ideas. We all simply exist as a reflection of each other. There are no original ideas. That's why we should just share. And you know what I'm saying? Chad says, have you seen 365 Days, Brady? I did not. And honestly, it looked really rapey. And I was like, I don't need, I was triggered by the trailer. I was like, I don't know. This feels really rapey. Should I review it for YouTube members? Should I do that? Because you know this stream was demonetized, girls. Just so you know, I already know my yesterday's stream was demonetized. You know, so that's how I make a lot of my income, as well as I make extra content for members. If you guys want, I just did for tier 2 members. I just reviewed Oprah's Estranged Family episode, but I don't know. Maybe I should do that. You know, yeah. What a time! What a time! What a time! You know. Anyways, okay. With that said, bad movies. 365. I saw them, and yes, first movie might be good to go over. Are there multiple 365 movies? No. Wait, are there multiples? There's not just one? Or which movie? Which movie, Discord? Because I thought there was just one. There's 4? No. 4 movies? 365? 366? No. No. No way. Man, that's crazy. That's insane. 4? 3, 4? That's crazy. Chess says, as somebody who was in the BDSM community, what did you think of Anne Rice's Sleeping Beauty books? If you guys have never read Anne Rice's Sleeping Beauty books, it's really hard to say. I haven't reread them since I was younger. I will say at the time, I thought they were really, really interesting. I thought I mean, they're really, really smutty, really. But it's interesting because it kind of stays more truer to the original story. Because Sleeping Beauty, I can't remember if she awoke from her slumber because she was raped or because she had the baby. I don't remember, but I didn't mind the exploration as a concept. I mean, obviously it's super, super fucked, right? But I kind of like have vivid memories of some of those scenes being like kind of sexy, but also kind of like disturbing, like the hairbrush scenes or like the being spanked or whatever. And I was like, okay, I kind of get it from a smutty perspective, but also just from a I'm gonna block the spammer. I don't know why I have a spammer in chat. From a ethical perspective, I haven't gone back to reread the books. Fiction like that, I don't even process from an ethical lens. I just see it as a complete, like, a literotica story. Have you guys ever been on Literotica? The stuff there is fucked. You know what I mean? So I'd have to go back and reread it from, like, a literary or, like, a judgment or, like, a moral, ethical position. But I really read it as a young person. So the only thing I really remember thinking is, like, how can I turn this into a consensual BDSM scene? Or I loved Anne Rice. I read everything Anne Rice ever wrote. So thinking about Anne Rice writing it was also really interesting. I also was heavily into weird lesbian smut. So Anne Rice's Sleeping Beauty series was nothing compared to some lesbian smut I found on the internet of putting like some of these scenes were so rated X, I couldn't even tell you. You know what I mean? I couldn't even tell you. Chat said I was reading Literotica way too young. Oh, same. Not only that, I was telling my partner, because sometimes I'll see these things, because I'm old enough. Like sometimes I'll see these posts on Instagram that are like, I miss the internet when it was a social place for me and my friends to share cool things. And I was like, the moment I got on the internet and the moment I had access to any kind of chat room, the moment I learned ASL, age, sex, location, girl, I was literally a child talking to adults. I'm saying I was absolutely doing things I should not have been doing. Okay, all of those like protocols, all those apps my parents put on the computer to protect us, homie. Okay, every time my dad caught me looking at fucking anime porn, and then he was just like, "Oh my god, my innocent daughter, who put this virus on your computer?" And I was like, "I don't know, help me! Oh my god, how did that get there?" Listen, okay, okay, listen. Anyways, there were a lot of things that shouldn't have been happening. Okay, there was a lot of, I was talking to, there was definitely, like, I got taken advantage of by older people on the internet, for sure. Those people are definitely pedophiles were talking to me, 100%. Shame, okay? And at the same time, like, I really do think one of the reasons I have such a healthy relationship with porn is because I actually read books as well. I really think men's crisis with porn is because you guys are not reading. You need to read books. You need to humanize people so you can humanize the porn you're enjoying. So even if the porn is fucking weird hentai shit with tentacles, you can kind of like, okay, you can kind of not be weird. I think a lot of these men who need to go to extreme levels of porn, you know, whatever, I really think it's because they're not reading. Like, you need to read novels and nonfiction and porn. It's like, okay? All these people that are like, I watched porn as a kid and it really ruined me. Well, it was probably because you also didn't have the education to watch the porn. Yeah, you watching porn with no sex education, with no humanization is really bad for your brain. Okay? So you do need to educate yourself so you can engage in ethical consumption of porn. So you can also see what bad porn is and what unethical porn is. So you can see like, oh, this shit's the bad shit. Don't look at that. Oh, this shit is like the unethical shit. Don't look at that. So you can also even, you know, honestly, I stopped watching real people porn a long time ago when that big crisis happened in 2013 or whatever, where like all these guys I used to watch in porn, I thought they were good guys. We found out half that shit was unconsensual. I was like, fuck it, I'm going straight to hentai. Give me the plant porn. Give me demons from the underworld coming out, because like, I ain't gonna risk it. I'm not gonna risk it anymore. I'm over risking it, you know? That's why OnlyFans is kind of nice, because if you get a really organic creator who's consensually making their own stuff, it feels a little bit better. Plant-based? Plant-based porn? Listen, okay? And yeah, hentai does have its problem. Chat's right. Hentai has a huge problem. There's a lot of problems in all. Look, porn industries are incredibly fucked. Like, porn industries are really, really bad. That's why I don't support the porn industry. but I do support porn. But I don't support porn industries. I never support an industry run and maintained by men. Because the people who run and maintain these industries are men as a system, not men as people. They cannot be trusted. Men as a system cannot be trusted. Because men as a system will always, at the expense of the vulnerable, make their dollar bills. It will always come at the expense of the people in the videos, even if they're drawn. That's the other part of it, is like, people don't understand that drawn characters, there is a consequence, there is a harm being done, not only to the consumer, but the people who will receive the backlash outside of the construct of the porn consumption. So you have to be careful, okay? You have to be careful. There are some very gross, disgusting, truly despicable porn out there that even if it's written, it's hurting somebody. And I know, we're not ready to have that conversation, but it's real. Even written porn can have victims. Mostly your brain for having consumed it. Okay? I've been a victim of written porn. Read a porn that made me feel so disgusted, I ripped up the book and burned it just in case. I could feel the disgust. I was like, oh, somebody evil wrote this. Somebody evil wrote this, you know? Oh yeah, I'm telling you, I was victimized. Okay? All right. With that said, I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to cover, people have asked me to cover the estranged story between the Beckhams, which I love, estranged conversations about parents and kids. So we'll cover that tomorrow and some other things. All right. Thanks for being here. Thanks for liking. I really appreciate it. Go watch my latest podcast. And look how good we just zoomed out and zoomed in. Wasn't that nice? Wasn't that kind of nice? Do you feel a little lighter at the end of stream? Does that feel okay? Yeah. Nice little, I feel like I really slammed you into the ground 10 times. And then this last time I placed you very softly and I said, okay, yeah, that was my goal. Did it work? Okay. See you tomorrow. Okay. See you tomorrow.